Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast. I have no idea. 198?
196.
Oh, wow. I paid zero attention to what it was. Normally, I make a thumbnail, get some other things going, and this week it just flat out didn't happen prior to the show.
We're very busy lately.
Very busy. I'm worked up. I'm ready to go. Tuesday night. So welcome. 196. The official countdown to 200, which will be in no celebration whatsoever. I think that's what we've discussed on the show.
That's so far it's what we've discussed.
Gosh, what is the date even? May 22nd. I gotta say, to a wonderful and amazing family friend,
Thanks.
known as Crazy Cat Lady, happy birthday. She
It's
someone I worked
Crazy
with
Cat Lady's birthday.
and one of the many funny stories about Crazy Cat Lady quickly. Not only has she become very much a part of our family and a very special woman in our life, of me and my kids and our entire family. I was an intern at Metavante, which was banking industry during college years. That's where I met her. She was a secretary, I think was the non-PC term back in the day. She was a secretary, one of the support women that worked out there. Always fun, full of life. I very much have always felt like a son to her, a son she never had. She had two daughters who are just a little bit older than me. Nicest woman in the world, so helpful and so friendly and funny and just a riot. And I distinctly, being there during my internship, during college, in the last year or so of college, working at this data services place, doing customer support stuff, software package, all sorts of things of that nature. And I was just kind of the office guy that had to do a bunch of remedial tasks. And her and I had become friends, and she said to me one day when we were talking about life, she goes, why don't 1999, let me timestamp this.
Okay.
99, 2000. Why don't you do that Frisbee golf thing for a living? You know, something with that. And I laughed. I literally laughed at her. I'm like, because unless I go and work at one of the two manufacturers, really, two or three, there's not really a job in disc golf. Like, that's just not a thing. And I remember kind of laughing at her for that. And, oh my gosh, 20 years later, here we are, and you're listening to me tell you that story that I didn't think it was possible. So, Crazy Cat Lady, happy birthday. She retired a few years ago. She is an amazing woman and lives right near one of the disc golf courses and has helped with my daughters as I've been primarily a stay-at-home father when I'm not on the road.
Mm-hmm.
She was always that person that helped fill in when I have to go somewhere for 2 or 3 days or 6 days at a time. 4 of those days, she would show up, get the kids off the bus or watch them or whatever the case might be. Just an amazing woman. So it's perfect that we can send her a happy birthday, and she may or may not be watching. Derek Savory, thank you for the super chat. All right, so that's what we have Tuesday night. Anything else?
Wow, that was a way to start.
It was. I'm bringing the heat tonight.
You're bringing some birthday heat.
Crazy Cat Lady. Another quick story about Crazy Cat Lady. One of the believe it or not, why she's named Crazy Cat Lady. She had a cat that could do
Tricks.
Damn near every trick a dog can do.
I remember
rolling over, crawling up a ladder, ringing a bell. I remember recording, this is pre-Disc Golf Guy days, recording her cat doing these tricks, and we sent it in. We had to put it on a DVD.
Didn't the
we
cat
sent it into
eat a
Letterman.
cupcake or something at one point?
It rang a bell. Yeah, it used to. Well, you would say like pray or do stuff, and it would do all these things. It would jump through a hoop. It would do all of these things.
Which is why we called her Crazy Cat Lady.
So, but yeah, I sent a DVD into Letterman to try and get it on like the stupid people tricks or stupid human or dog pet tricks, whatever.
That's how long ago this was.
That's how long ago. Yeah, Letterman. For those who don't know, he was a late night talk show person. All right, moving on.
We have so much news, so many stories. We have
so much.
We've got foot faults. We've got scoring errors. We've got disqualifications. We've got Masters Cup updates. We've got some.
Oh, those are different.
I meant like results.
I know.
Like real results. We've got some media stuff that Terry's wired up about here.
Yes.
There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack this particular episode. So I'm happy to be here. We've got Dynamite Dana Vici in the green room. We are just just waiting for him. Hold on. I need to make sure that I get his shot set up.
Yes. Bob Johnson, meanwhile, thank you for the super chat. You guys are great and gracious. We very much appreciate it. All right. So, yes, we're going to have Dynamite joining us tonight. I did reach out. We talk about, spoiler alert, Ricky won, Paige won. No, this isn't deja vu from most of the other weeks. I did reach out to one Steve Rico. He won the Lemon Drop, which was another big event going on. I figured it's been also a really long time since we caught up with him. He may or may not join us. It was a last-minute moment for me to reach out to him. So he may or may not be joining us, and he can give us some updates from the Lemon Drop. We can talk about Masters Cup because we kind of saw things unfold, UDisc, post-production, articles, those things. Lemon Drop, I don't know much about other than it's a really big, really fun event. So we might get some updates directly from them.
Big Putt Bill, thank you for your
Bill
super chat.
Sherman. Bill, step up your game. The other guys gave $5.
You get $4.99.
Hope you're doing well, buddy.
Ready, guys? It's a race to the bottom.
Yes.
Wes Warren dropping the 20 bomber. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing us news. I appreciate it.
We hope you
send this to everybody.
I also hope you get doubled on that.
Oh, Jeremy Stewart, I do have to get your name up on those credits and
right.
Look for that next week. One of the other things I do want to say is dismember.
Oh.
We have
not dismember, not like dismember someone.
Not to dismember somebody, not the Dismemberment Plan, one of the best bands in
the
last 20 years. No, Dismember. They are a sponsor of ours. We want to give a nice shout out to them. They are making a big push right now for some June signups. So talking to the guys there, they say this is a really big month for subscribers. So they want, along with the standard giveaway that we give away, the package for Patreon, the $50 package, they're going to throw in a $10 gift card for each new subscriber that we refer. So,
okay, how do they win that, Johnny? How do you get that $10 gift card?
You need to sign up at Discmember by going to discmember.com. And if you send an email to service@discmember.com and tell them Smashbox referred you, they're going to throw in the gift card to your particular package.
Wow.
So that's going to be a $60
what?
value
$60?
For only like $25 a month. And they're going to send you new discs, new shirts, hats, stickers, patches, pins, whatever you want. They're going to, not whatever you want.
No, they're going to send you
what they want. Whatever they want, they're going to send you. But it's a really awesome service. Every month I get the package because they send one to us, and then we also give that one away. But I always want to rip it open to see what's in there. So, again, if you go to discmember.com and sign up, if you email their service department, if you sign up with our reference, you're going to get an extra $10 in there this week. So that sounded like a real, actual live commercial almost.
Wow.
If you want to be eligible for the giveaway that we will do tonight, the Discmember giveaway, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can be entered into that giveaway. All right, I think we've shilled and plugged enough
for now. We'll just 10 minutes worth to get started.
We'll talk about Discmember more later for sure. So
will we talk about Crazy Cat Lady more later?
That's up to you.
She actually signs her emails to me YCCL, as in your Crazy Cat Lady. It's adorable. She uses email too. She's in her 70s.
Awesome.
I'm usually fixing said email or computers
and
then calling you for even further backup. But all right, let's get Dynamite on the line.
Boom. Dynamite Vitchy.
How we doing, buddy?
Oh,
we don't have any volume.
Hold on.
Do we need volume?
Boom. There we go. Hey, Dana.
Volume optional tonight?
Volume is optional. I forgot to hit one little button. It happens. Whatever.
I wish I hit mute earlier so I didn't have to hear about dismemberments and kittens and cat ladies and Terry spoiling the winners. Like, come on, man.
I know. I didn't spoil any winners.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, maybe.
You flat out said that Ricky and Paige both won. But
I didn't say where.
That's true. All the videos are out. If you don't know by now, take a flying leap.
Yeah.
And go to YouTube. Dynamite Vitchy, how are you doing? What's going on in the world of disc golf?
Man, you guys kind of hinted at it. Masters Cup is it's dominating the early week social media. It's all over the place, and not really talking about the awesome battle that took place, but some other crazy things that went on. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about the disc golf. Uh, as Terry ruined. As Terry mentioned earlier, Paige did win. She still remains perfect on the season, and this time she did it by a dozen throws over Cat Allen.
A
Katrina
dozen?
played some pretty good disc golf this last weekend.
I honestly, okay. I apologize. I'll interrupt. For a second, I thought it was even more than that, but maybe I just looked at my math wrong.
Just a cool does.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got you disc open here. I'm following along, Dana. Please continue.
Thank you. I'm glad someone here knows what's going on.
I was thinking
But anyways,
-3.
Kat, while she was a dozen behind Paige, there was a battle for really second through fifth. It was pretty darn tight with Kat being at 15 over, Lisa Fakis at 16 over, and Jen Allen 18 over, so only 3 off second place. And that those 3 strokes for Jen Allen, she went home with $800. Would have been a cool $1,500 for which is what Kat got for second. And finishing out 5th place at 20 over was Madison Walker, who continues her really stellar play early this season. Zoe Andyke, Sarah Holcomb, Vanessa Van Dyken all round out the top 7. But Paige, another 1,000 rated round. She went 990 round 2. Was pretty much in control. After the second round, it was pretty much done with in a walk in the park, or a walk at the golf course on Sunday, and she did that little 1,000 rated walk and got disc golf rich, $2,000. Nice payday, and the streak is alive. Johnny, when, if ever, is this streak gonna end?
Oh, good. I'm glad you're going that route. I thought you were going to ask me when did it start, because I was trying to think of the last event she lost, even going back to last year, and I can't remember offhand.
I have to do some math, maybe.
But when is the streak going to end? Oh gosh, I'll say this: I don't think she's going to go undefeated on the year. I think she'll probably have one event where she has a lapse in judgment, or just her game doesn't show up, and as we've said, it's not just going to take her game not showing up. It's going to take her game not showing up and one of the other FPO competitors to be on top of their game, because even Paige on a bad day tends to be better than a lot of the women on a decent day. So they need to have a good day to beat Paige on a bad day. When is it going to end?
How's Paige's record out at Beaver State? I feel like that was one that had eluded her. Did she win it? She won it last year, though.
2 years ago, it went to a playoff. I was there. Playoff can be found on YouTube. Back when I covered all the women. Yeah.
I said Kat hit that big putt.
She hit a huge putt, fist pump and all, on hole 1 of the playoff and took it down. So, but Paige did, I think, take it down last year. And trivia fact to be answered: last year, the last time she didn't win was at the final NT of the year, and she finished in an abysmal, horrendous 4th place at the Steady Ed Hedrick Hall of Fame Classic. So, she got the bonus payout. She got the Tour Championship presented by Prodigy of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and then obviously throughout this year.
So Milo is a good place to predict her losing, only because it is such it's technical. Is that a good way to put it? A technical course?
It can be.
It requires distance. It requires accuracy, all of which Paige has in ample. So picking her to lose there is only me saying that maybe she is going to be off a little bit and one of the other women aren't, because there's not one spot in her game where she fails compared to the other than, I'll say right now, her short putts. I think Lisa Fakis probably, you put both of them at about 20 feet and sit and putt for 3 hours, and Lisa probably comes out on top by just a little bit. But unfortunately for Lisa, Paige is going to make the 40-footers that she's not right now. So it's...
Johnny, what was Paige's putting percentage circle 1 at Masters Cup? I felt like she got it up there in the upper 80s, or maybe that
she did. Yeah, her circle 1 putting was 88%. Lisa Fakis's circle 1 putting was 89%. So literally like probably 1 or 2 putts difference. Paige's circle 2 was 50%, along with Lisa. Actually, Lisa was at 50% too, but the 50% is a little, it's hard to say that accurately, because if someone only has 1 or 2 outside, then, and I don't know if that's just for this particular round.
Well, and I wanted to follow that up, and something that I was thinking about this weekend, Dana. It's so great we have UDisc. Of course, we'll continue. Their database is only going to continue to grow throughout the years, and it's just this amazing asset to the disc golf world. It truly is. When they go to a place like, and I know you could say it all evens out eventually, but when they go to a place like DeLa, is maybe even your putting percentage and or your scramble percentage, is there a chance that those take some goofy spikes at that event? Because if you're ever going to be putting from circle 1 and then have a follow-up circle 2 putt, that's going to probably happen at DeLa more than anywhere else. Or a circle 1 putt that might be only 23 feet and be incredibly obstructed. Let's put it this way. When we go to Utah in a few weeks or in a month, a circle 1 putt, at most you have 1 tree in your way, and that's at most. A circle 1 putt at DeLa could be over 3 or 4 little mounds of dirt with a backdrop behind it, along with 6 to 10 trees in front of you.
You could say the same thing at Beaver State too. There's a lot of trees in near some greens. And
that's what I'm saying. I just feel like Masters Cup is so unique in terms of that course.
It is. I'm
not saying the stats aren't valuable. They're just definitely a little skewed for that weekend, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a legit.
Because how many times do you walk up to a
20-foot putt and just throw it under the basket and hope it doesn't roll? Yeah.
Well,
am I thinking too much into it, Dana?
Yeah, it's not just the roll at DeLa. It's if you doink off the cage or just miss and hit that hard pan, you're definitely going to be looking at another putt coming back, whether it stays in or outside of the circle, and that could mentally play into things. But yeah, I could see that the putting numbers being a little bit different at DeLa. So I did a little digging on Paige's stats, and I think that this was in 2017. That was her first time winning the Beaver State Fling. She did not win Worlds when it was in Portland. She got second place. She missed a Beaver State due to injury. But yeah, she had racked up more than a couple second places over the years there. So maybe she found her stroke there last year, and we'll keep cruising. But historically, it hasn't been a home run for her there in Portland.
Yeah. So if there's a place that if you were a betting person and you had to bet on a place for Paige to lose, that might be the place you would pick. There's not a lot of other places. Maybe Maple Hill would be another one, because you can get into some trouble there. But ultimately, I will never, given the choice, I would never put money against Paige Pierce. That's just not going to happen.
Well, and now here's an interesting addition to that. When you talk about her and we'll say her longevity or rating and things like that, you put her on those 2 challenging courses for the weekend, and then you have them play 4 rounds. You think, okay, could you be off for 1 round or 2 rounds or whatever? They're going to play 4 rounds, and statistically, I think we all know the more rounds you play, the higher ratings are usually going to come out on top. So more rounds of golf may also play into her favor just overall as a general statement when you're talking about a challenging weekend. So that's another way to look at it. Let's say Paige is off for 2 rounds. Those other 2 rounds might be more than enough for her to get back on
Yeah.
track. So
No, exactly.
You might go 10-20, 10-20 on the other two.
Yeah, that's not even.
8.
Yeah, that's.
you know, sometimes she lets a few strokes. You know, she leaves them out on the course, and later in the final round, she comes up and picks up those and a few more, and zooms past things. So we'll see. Should be good.
Yeah, and I think that the other women they're getting better and better too. Their ratings are going up, and I think it's just not that I don't believe Paige is going to keep winning, but I think it's going to come to a halt sooner than later.
Ooh,
so
all right.
On the record here.
On the record. All right.
Let's move over to the men's side at the Masters Cup.
The men at the Masters Cup.
This was an exciting show. If you follow me on Twitter at Dana Disc Golf, you would have seen that I was glued on Sunday to UDisc, following along on the action, watching the swings back and forth between Ricky and Josh Anton, just having an incredible battle. And I did end up watching the final round footage from Jomez, and what a spectacular battle, and great throws by all the lead card. Even though a couple of the guys did drop from the lead card, we saw a new face to the National Tour lead card scene. He's not new to the scene. He's young. Noah Mensma from Minnesota. He's been playing some big events for the last few years and doing some traveling. I think he's 20, but this was definitely a breakout weekend for him. He started his weekend out going 1050, followed it up with a 1038, and that landed him on the lead card with Philo, Ricky, and Josh Anton. So pretty cool stuff. And even cooler is that he stepped up to hole 1 final round and threw just one of the best shots I've seen. One of the best shots I think I saw all around, just this great slow turning drive, and just absolutely parked it to kind of make a statement there, like, hey, I belong. And it was pretty cool. But unfortunately, he did slow down there that round and wasn't able to continue that pace.
I was gonna say, all event, after the first round, I was kind of just expecting him to fall off. And I'm just because we've seen names that pop up on the lead card because they have a good round, they're either a local, and then we see the names that everybody knows kind of push them down, or they succumb to the pressure, or however it goes. I can't say I was surprised, but it was refreshing to see Noah hang on there. And looking at it about halfway through the third round, I was like, wow, he's still top 10. And he ended up finishing tied for 5th. Like you said, he shot a 2 down, which, isn't horrible. It looked like some of the, the mid-range players were shooting 4, 5, 6. So he was only off by a few strokes. And then we saw a couple big numbers by some of our top players throw very, very well. But it's refreshing to see a Midwest guy, Noah, play very well. He had a rough end to that final round. Otherwise, him, Jen Allen, and Anthon all finished out, very poorly. Otherwise, they would have been handily in a lot more cash.
Well, and even just looking, and I know it's always woulda, coulda, shoulda. We can, everyone can say that a million times. But even just his last 2 holes, instead of going bogey, which were both OB strokes, he goes par. He ties for 3rd with Paul McBeth. I mean, that is one hell of a weekend. So.
Yeah, still, even like this, the Masters Cup is always stacked. Like, all the best players go. California is loaded with 1,000 rated players that you've never even heard of. So, I mean, killer competition. And for him to go out and shred and then hang tough like that was pretty cool to see. And his rating's been on the rise, and he's been having these solid showings more and more. Obviously, this is the biggest and best of the bunch, but it'll definitely be, maybe it's a name to watch. He's on that march towards 1,000, and we'll see if he can do something at one of these bigger events. He's playing San Fran this weekend. He's out for Beaver State Fling. We'll see him at some of the Disc Golf Pro Tour events at the rest of the year. Would not be surprised to see him on Smashbox at some point. But Paul McBeth, he kind of was having a bad weekend.
He kind of screwed me.
Whoa.
He
did.
He finished too well. I lost a little bet.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Should we tell the world? Yeah, we should. So
after the first round, Paul McBeth was 9 strokes off of first place, Ricky Wysocki. And Terry and I were talking, and I said, I just don't think it's going to be there for McBeth this week. And Terry was very adamant. He's like, I think it will be. He's like, I would put $25 on it with somebody to say that he finishes up near the top. I think it was originally the term or something like that. And I said, okay. And then we agreed 4 strokes, whether or not he could finish within 4 strokes of Ricky Wysocki.
And
it didn't matter where Ricky finished at 4 or better. So if he beat Ricky, came back, whatever. And this is with 2 rounds to go.
And with that logic, I was thinking that was the first round. We all know what,
He
as
can
we
do it.
said, what
DeLa.
DeLa is like. I mean, we've seen it. I think it was maybe even a Steve Rico a few years ago. Shoots like literally like a 10 or 12 or 14 one round, and then comes back the next round and shoots an even. Like, that is DeLa. Everyone will tell you a million times over, anything like that can happen out there. And I'm not discrediting any good play that took place, but I just know if somebody plays poorly, someone, of course, of like a Paul McBeth caliber, I know the next day he could go out and essentially shoot almost the exact same shots, but score way better. That's, again, all part of DeLa. So that's where my confidence came from, in the idea that I feel like he had a bad day, and he's one to rebound more often than not when he does start out poorly. And so I was very confident that on the next day he would have no problem making up some ground. I just expected him to come out with a ridiculous round and make up some ground during that second round. The problem is he didn't.
No, he made up 2 strokes. Have you ever seen the movie, or kind of know the concept of Baby's Day Out?
Is that with John Travolta?
No, that's Look Who's Talking. It's the movie where the kid, like, it's kind of typical. You see it in cartoons. Someone falls out a window but happens to catch the I-beam, walks across the I-beam, falls, hits the thing. They basically luck themselves into not getting hurt. That's what you did. You ended up you won the bet, but for all the wrong reasons. But as a bet is a bet, I obviously will pay up, and it's not,
I think it would be best if you did it right here on the show.
I don't have any cash or anything like that. I'll PayPal you. Anyway, so Paul McBeth shot very, very well, enough to get him up to 3rd place. What was it, 10 down that final round, Dana?
Yep, 10 down, and his front 9 had 2 bogeys, but everything else was birdies. I think he only had a handful. He only had a few pars on that whole round. So I mean, there was some. While the 10 down was shredding, there was a little room for improvement, and got to give it to Paul. He was way down there and just went out there and went ham, and man, he got paid $2,000, jumped way up there. Finished in 3rd place, so probably getting a little bonus from that from Innova. So shout out to McBeasy for not giving up.
2 questions, one statement, 1 question. Let's start with the question, Dana, and I know this is all post, so it may or may not be easier. Would you have taken that $25 bet after the first round when I said to Johnny I would put down $25, and it wasn't directed at Johnny. I said I would put the bet on with anyone. $25 says that after being 9 strokes off of Wysocki, he would finish within 4 of him by the end of the tournament. Do you feel like that would have been a good bet for you to take?
I wouldn't have bet against Paul. Not that I don't have confidence in Ricky, but Paul, he's owned the Masters Cup aside from Ricky over the past, 6 years. So yeah, Paul, and he's coming off some good play. I'm on your side on this one, Terry.
And well, that was my thought about taking the bet. I wanted to make it a little interesting to watch, because otherwise, I didn't have a heck of a lot of interest in this particular event. And it was the way Ricky's been playing lately. He's been draining putts from everywhere. My worry was that he was going to get out to a decent lead and then be able to coast into the end, and Macbeth was going to make a surge. Not that it would finish up the way it was, because Ricky certainly did not get to coast into the win. He had to fight tooth and nail to almost the very last hole to keep Anthon off his tail.
Yeah, I mean, he got the layup on the last two. He had the fortunate break that he was able to see Josh throw out of bounds on 17, so he did not have to get aggressive and was able just to pitch up and take the par, and then go into 18 with not having to birdie it, but not get too aggressive on it. He probably, and then laid up from there. So yeah, it almost did, that scenario almost did hit.
Just a little harder, Ricky. Push a little more next time. Next time I've got money on you.
And then I'm going to follow up with my statement, which was, I read in one of the debate groups, which honestly just hurt my head. I should just remove myself from them. I understand they're there as a point of debate on Facebook. There's a couple of them, I think. But one statement, and I'll call any of you out as our listeners. Someone said after first round, well, Paul and his married life, that's, again, all too obvious that you're going to use that stupid line. But then they doubled down on their stupidity with, he's got a wife and family and a house and house payment and all those pressures now for the money, because he needs the money for his family. And that's why he's playing poorly. Paul Macbeth doesn't need to worry about finishing in the top 10 to be financially secure right now. So that's not a problem. Does he want to play well? Yes. If Paul Macbeth took home $622 this weekend or $2,000, it doesn't matter. It might matter to 99.9% of every other disc golfer in terms of like every dollar counts. Every dollar doesn't count for Paul Macbeth. Okay? So he's not feeling the pressures of his house payment for how he plays at the Masters Cup.
Okay.
That's it.
Thanks for telling us, random internet dude, and calling him out, Terry.
Nice. Terry 1, internet 0.
Thank you. Good. Now I feel better.
All right.
Where's my $25?
What other notable things did you see out here, Dana?
Man. Masters Cup?
Yeah. I mean, I noticed Mr. Consistency out here at the Masters Cup. Nate Doss finished in 20th, which is an odd place to finish for him. You can normally count on him. I know he crushed a few people in our Survivor League. You can normally count on him for a top 10 at the Masters Cup religiously. I don't know if maybe the previous day's situation had anything to do with that, if his mind wasn't quite in it on that last day, but he only shot an even out on the golf course.
Yeah, I think he had a pretty big number on one of the, I'm assuming it was an island hole or something.
He took a 6 on a par 3, so that was early in the round.
Yeah, just wasn't able to get his head and heart back in it. Probably tried to, but wasn't able to. He did have that 64 round 2 on DeLa was pretty smoking though.
Yeah, it was. A couple other names that we don't normally see nationally. Kyle Ekman, one of Smashbox's first aces.
The first
ace, yes. He finished up in the top 15. He's kind of a local guy from SoCal. And Scott Withers, who his name tends to be up there, but he finished very, very well on top of that. So congratulations to those guys. Those are names you don't necessarily hear very often mentioned on the show, but finishing,
Well, we talk about Scott Withers quite a bit because he just runs through every B tier.
True.
So maybe you should pay attention. No, I'm just kidding, Johnny. Yeah, Scott Withers, though he has struggled going to bigger events. He'll go shred at the C and B tiers locally in the Northwest, and then not necessarily go pop the 1030, 1040, 1050s off that he does at home. But he stayed pretty consistent, almost hitting. I think he played his average 10.26. So definitely good to see him up there though. And Kevin Jones, he kind of had that slower start to the season. Kind of figured after that USDGC breakout that he was going to be, one of those guys that we're going to see every weekend up top, and he wasn't quite there at the beginning of the season, but he's been heating up, and he did that with a really strong first round and a really strong final round. Where James Conrad end up at, Johnny?
Hold on, let me do a quick search because it's nowhere near the top. 35th place. Conrad shot a +5 on the final round. Yeah, to finish at 3 down for the round. So he was right there in the hunt for top 20 before that final round, and then just had a nightmare finish on that golf course.
He bogeyed 5 out of his last 7 holes.
Correct, with 3 OB strokes, a couple 2-putts, which is unlike him. Looks like he 2-putted 3 times in those 7 holes. Just a nightmare finish for the guy. Ended up in 35th place. Conrad, and last year he came out hot and played very well throughout the year. He was one of those names that everybody was expecting to see up at the top, and he hasn't really come through this year so far. Now, we're going to be getting into some of the more technical courses coming up where he could shine with his, he throws an AVR better probably than almost anybody on tour. So it might be more advantageous to him. He's not a short thrower by any means. So the golf course could have been a good move for him. But really, he is known for being able to thread lines very, very well. So I'll be curious to see if he can pick up his game through the rest of the year.
Oh yeah, he'll be back. He's it's just part of even the top players we see with the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs, and no doubt James will be back up top. I don't know, maybe it was just because Smashbox wasn't there. He's like, whatever. No Smashbox.
I made a joke on Tuesday. We're gonna get into a little discussion now, Dana. Here, I made a joke on Tuesday after the first round, saying, "Look what happened to Val. She got the Smashbox bump. She was just on the show, and after the first round, she was shooting very, very well. That bump didn't last. Dana can't be a caddy right now." Do you want to walk through a little bit on the Val Jenkins situation that you know of?
I'm gonna go ahead and forward that right over to your partner Terry.
All right. Well, actually,
here's where we'll start. We'll read what was released. There was a statement released by the PDGA. Interestingly enough, actually, Dustin Keegan made a post on Sunday morning, and it very quickly split into a lot of people discussing ultimately a disqualification for Val Jenkins. Later, we find out that he was actually not referencing the Val Jenkins disqualification whatsoever in his post. We found that out, a few hours or a day later. However, the PDGA released an official statement, so let's start there in terms of what we saw on Sunday morning.
So Sunday morning, we find out that Val Jenkins has been disqualified from the Masters Cup, shocking the world, because I can't think of a reason why one of the premier people, not just women, premier people in our sport would be disqualified. And basically, the PDGA came out, or the tournament director came out and said, "This decision weighs heavily, to say the least. Val is one of the most respected players in the sport, with contributions that resonate much wider than the casual observer might know. Unfortunately, the definition of the rules are clear in this instance, and they were applied to her as they would be any other player at the tournament." The PDGA referenced Section 305C and 303B pertaining to the possession of alcohol on the course. Now, if it's a B tier or higher, you or your caddy may not be in any possession of alcohol. It is an immediate disqualification. mostly. C tiers and below, you can be warned. There is some discussion out there about whether or not there was any leeway that the TD had, because the statement about the player is definitively clear. But if you look at one of the other rules talking about the caddy, there's the word may in there. And so there was some discussion on some boards about whether or not the TD had to disqualify her, this and that. I think it's kind of a moot point at this point. That's a different discussion. But then this morning, or today, Val released her statement, and it says, I pulled my mom from the spectating crowd and asked her to caddy for me in the last 4 holes to finish the second round, in which she carried with her an empty beer can in a koozie. I admit this was a lapse in judgment on my part, which could have been handled very differently. I had no intention to break the rules, and I apologize to my fellow competitors and fans, as this did not show the professional side of the sport in the best light. So, the story goes, Val grabs her mom to caddy for her on the way up the hill on the second day. Sharon has what we understand is an empty beer can in a koozie that she's carrying. There's pictures out there from video that she has it in her hand. She's Val's caddy. Someone calls it in at the after the round and basically says, hey, Val's caddy had an open can of alcohol. This is an immediate disqualification. The TD had no choice after discussing with it. There's some gray area that maybe Dana and I and Terry can talk about as far as it's an empty can versus someone drinking. Does it matter? Dana, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, so I hadn't seen or heard the Val statement, and yeah, that's it's a crazy situation. But I gotta say that as unfortunate as it is, sometimes you don't mean for bad things to happen, and this is just one of those cases. It was just an accident, and I think that under the rules that was the call to be made.
Agreed. I think I'm actually with you here. I think it's, as I said to Terry and I discussed this off camera, that there is some gray area here, but you should not have an empty can on you, whether it's in a koozie or not, carrying it with you. If you pick it up to throw it away, that's one thing. Hey guys, I found this. I'm going to toss it in the garbage when we get to the next hole or whatever, wherever the next garbage can is. That wasn't the case in this particular instance, and it's a bad look for the PDGA, which is why they take the stance that they do. And I think that you want to get into the nitty gritty. I wish she wasn't disqualified, but and again, you can make the argument that it was empty. Was there any alcohol in it? Maybe a little bit at the bottom, maybe some drips inside the can. Was Sharon drinking at all while she had the bag? I don't believe so, but I wasn't there, so I can't make that call. Terry?
It certainly, I think what it does is it brings to light a lot of questions, and one of the reasons why this has been such a hot topic, of course, any disqualification of any and every player is subject to be a hot topic, but and this is not precluding her or excluding her of any of the rules or stipulations. It's just so crazy because we're talking about arguably one of the best sports people and role models and activists and highly regarded and respected women our sport's ever seen. She is in that uppermost echelon of the top 2 or 3 or 5 most respected women to ever probably touch a disc golf disc. However, clearly, we all know that doesn't exclude her from any rules. It's just too bad for me that it feels like it was an awkward, like, again, none of the 3 of us were there, and we're hearing mainly secondhand. We're seeing a few posts. so on and so forth. To me, it would be very different if, and how I envisioned it. And when I heard about that alcohol might be involved, I, in my head, immediately thought, well, maybe they walked by that one hole before they go up the hill. And maybe as I see Sharon, because Sharon's the most lovable, amazing woman, she probably says, hey, Val, want me to carry your bag? This is all playing out in my head. And as she's like putting her arm, she's got one arm on the bag, she's about to put her other arm through the back of the bag, and while doing it, finishes off the beverage that she had as a spectator, and then carries it along with it. That's what I envisioned in my head when I read the story before I knew all of the details. That's how I envisioned it maybe playing out in my head. And then I thought, wow, that's so, we're talking about just
Moments.
seconds, of this going down. And to find out that it seemed not too far off from what my envisioning of it was, I don't want to say it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy in that the way it went down. We all know that rules need to be applied to everyone. And Val so graciously, I don't think at any point would say, hey, there's a rule and I'm above that. She would never in a million years say that or believe that. Was there any confusion? Was there, who knows? It sounds like the PDJ felt like they had to do what they had to do. And that's the way it played out. I believe it or not, I don't have a lot more to say to that. It sounds very unfortunate. It sounds like some unfortunate timing. It sounds like maybe a little misunderstanding, because we all know this. Here's what we do know. Val, as she said in her statement, Val and her mother would never intentionally attempt to sidestep or break any rules. That's just not in their DNA for either of them. Any of the Jenkins family, for that matter. That's just not in their DNA. So to see it, this kind of this go down the way it did was just, it's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, and I'm knowing that, Val, you said a lot of great things about her as a disc golf and all these things. She's just
and as a human.
Great. Sharon, they're just really good people. It's I think this is just it's unfortunate. However, it shook out, and I'm sure Val took it like a champ in stride, and it's got everyone talking. It's a learning experience. I think a lot of people are hung up on who told on her or snitched, whatever it is.
Who's the rat?
Yeah, that I had a hard time. I had a hard time processing Facebook on as well Sunday morning when this was kind of all getting discussed, and just even reading Facebook hurts my head sometimes with so many saying let's follow all the rules, but then they want to know who the rat is one of the terms, or the snitch, or whatever the questions. I mean, we have to. There is a point where we have to follow the rules. The question is, are they being applied, correctly and consistently? That's always a question, I think, at all levels. And is anyone trying to use them to any advantage or disadvantage, or trying to manipulate them? I mean, those are all questions that I think get factored in. But
it almost seems like this could have been a case where someone was using it to their advantage. Val was beating them, and so they.
Well, that only narrows it down to everyone but Paige.
No, at that time Val was actually beating.
Not by the end of the second round. I don't think so. I think there was a few strokes Paige had her on her, but regardless,
nonetheless, it's pretty clear for B tiers and above that it's a DQ, and your caddy's got to follow the rules. So
it's a learning experience for a lot of people.
There you go. Let's use it as a learning experience, and if it's something that you don't like, then maybe talk to the PDGA. Don't just go on Facebook and yell and scream or whatever it might be. Do something to change the rule if you feel that needs to be a rule that's changed. But it's at the end of the day, it's a rule. She had the beer in her hand, even if it was empty. I mean,
and as someone said to me, you get pulled over. If you get pulled over for drunk driving and there's an empty can in your car, you're still getting busted for drunk driving, whether or not you drank at that moment or not. Similar experience on the course. Just if you're going, be very aware of your caddy.
Well, and that's maybe the last thing I would say to it all as well is there was a lot of then conversation. I think besides being a learning experience for the party involved or parties involved,
it was a party.
I knew I was setting. But no, aside from that, it does bring to light how responsible you are for your caddy. That your caddy is a direct extension of you. We've said that for a lot of years. Obviously, it's in the rule book, but that's something to take note of. If your caddy is doing something he or she should not be doing, get them to stop it immediately or remove the bag from them so that they are no longer acting as your caddy. And that could be and that includes, at a lot of our big events, you're not allowed to, for instance, use cigarettes or tobacco products or vape or whatever. If you're at one of those events, your caddy can't be doing it either. If that's one of the rules. Anything that applies to you as a rule also applies to your caddy. And if your caddy is doing things they shouldn't be doing, you are the one to get penalized for that. So that's something to know. And that's not picking on Val or Sharon. That's just a very general rule that everyone should know by. One gentleman kept posting, well, what if she just fired her caddy, after it? I'm like, no. I said, that's like you doing 80, and then but then when you see the cop, you slow down to 55. It's too late. Like, at that point, it's kind of a done deal. So don't, you're responsible for anything that your caddy does. Of course, in this case, she wasn't doing anything that she thought would be malicious or egregious in that sense, but just always know you are responsible for all of your caddy's actions.
I do wish, hindsight 2020, someone would have come up to her immediately, hopefully, or the minute it was noticed and said, hey, you have to get rid of that right now. And at that point, then I think, knowing the Jenkins family like I do, they would be like, oh yeah, duh, let me get rid of it. I don't know if anyone noticed, if it was noticed after the fact, if someone did, like Dana said, if someone used it to their advantage or not. I don't know. Those are all speculation. I just wish it would have gone down differently. So, anyway.
All right. So enough of that. That was the official statement.
Let's talk about something less controversial, Dana.
I heard they were going to strip her 4 titles, by the way.
Footfaults. Those are right. Those are less controversial.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and if this Val thing didn't happen, I think that would probably be on the forefront of everybody's Instagram, on the tips of their fingers. Ricky.
So does Ricky know that the T-pad ends at this point, or like there's a line he had from, and I'll say, someone pointed out on that final round, I think he had 4 or 5 legitimate, from what I could tell, foot faults, and was called on one, not seconded, then was called on another one and was seconded. Correct, Dana?
Yes. So he was assessed the penalty stroke, and he had thrown in the bunker on that hole. So,
which brings up another argument as to whether or not that should have been assessed.
That's funny. Dana, do you know the story?
Yeah, well, let's go through
one at a time.
One issue at a time here. So let's start with footfaults. Here is the whole stir over. People are watching the Jomez footage. Is this correct?
Yep.
They're seeing Ricky on the lead card, and there have been people that are challenging, which there always are during any footage. But there are people that are challenging and saying that Ricky is indefinitely or is definitely or is clearly. What's the terminology that's out there? Because I haven't read it all. What's
Dana?
People are making the claim that he is consistently foot faulting. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's been thrown around out there, definitely.
Okay. So during the round, as you just said, on what hole?
As you know, the DeLa golf course, a lot of the tees are on the cart path.
Okay.
So if you look on either side of the cart path, you see these wooden blocks. My understanding from talking to random internet people,
Those are the best sources.
Always the best sources. And the tee pad supposedly ends at the one of the lines on the concrete where it's separated, the pavement concrete where it's separated. And if that is the case, you can clearly see multiple times Ricky stepping on or over that line when he releases.
Okay.
I think it was hole 10. I think I'm gonna get this wrong
12.
probably. Well, no, I'm thinking hole 10 is when Ricky was called by Philo, and no one seconded it.
Okay.
You could hear it in the background. It was just like you could mildly hear it, Footfault. But then there was another time when he actually did it, and he was called on it. Now, my understanding is he did that relatively regularly in some of the other footage from the weekend, was stepped on that or over that line.
Okay.
And was not called on it at all by anybody, which to me then negates everything. Because if no one's going to call you on it, either, too bad. Guess what? You're not going to call yourself on it. You can't.
Yeah.
So if you step on it, no one calls you, too bad. It's the two that he was called on that really interest me.
Okay. So then on hole 15, this is final round. Hole 15, he is called on a foot fault, and Philo calls him, I believe, right? Is that how it goes? And then someone else in the card, must be either Josh or Noah, presumably, right? Seconds it, and then he goes into the bunker, which is played as a hazard, meaning you play it from where it lies, but with a penalty. Is that correct? So now post round, so it's determined that he's getting 2 penalties there.
Incorrectly determined, but yes.
So he's assessed 2 penalties. He makes the putt for what then is a 4 at the time. He makes the putt for a 4, and then he goes on to play out, and spoiler, he wins. Now, is it a day later or a few hours later when it's discovered or talked about that, hey, wait a minute, why did he get 2 OBs? Or why did he get 2 penalties on 15?
And Steven Seagal on our board says 7, 8, 10, and 15 were all ones where he went over. Anyway, which is funny because we talked about this at the end of last year. Last October, we talked about this because I looked through and I know for a fact that we actually spread some of the misinformation at one point that said, because we got it from Sean Sinclair at the time saying, if you foot fault and go OB, you get double penalized. And he confirmed that. He actually sent it to me. Now, I talked to him today and I said, hey, Sean, remember when you said this? What's the deal? And he said, I'm sorry. That was at the time correct, but after talking to the board, it was amended. There's a Q&A out on the board about it saying that, no, you only get assessed 1 penalty stroke, not the 2. So there was clearly some confusion if you go back far enough, but we are 5 or 6, almost 6 months into the season. These players should know the rules on their own, and it was incorrectly scored. Right, Dana?
Give him a 2-stroke penalty.
Do you do...
Yeah, not give him a 2-stroke penalty for misscoring his scorecard on top of it.
Don't you get 2 strokes? What was that? Double jeopardy? 2 strokes plus
Triple
the correct...
jeopardy at that point.
Plus the correct 2 strokes off the correct score, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So he would gain a stroke and then lose 2 and still win by 1.
Wait, so can you explain? All right, so explain to me what he doesn't get the penalty stroke for throwing out of bounds then?
I don't know. I don't know which penalty you would count then. Would you count the OB penalty?
Let's find
or
out.
Would you count the foot fault? Like which one technically he was supposed to get a penalty.
Hold on. Chuck Kennedy. All right. Go on.
We've called on we've prayed to the Chuck Kennedy God. Maybe he'll show up. So yeah, I'm not sure. Vincent on the board saying you have to take the OB. So then you do not get the foot fault penalty. So if you foot fault and throw OB, you take the OB penalty. If you foot fault and do not throw OB, you take the foot fault penalty. What we do know is you only get 1 penalty. So, and I guess it doesn't really matter because with the new foot fault, you throw from the lie with a stroke penalty. So where you were, ultimately it doesn't matter because the stroke is assessed.
And
but
we've got Chuck on the board. He says he's reading the book.
Chuck's reading the book.
Good. Good.
Yes.
Chuck, send me a link. Point me. I was just literally looking.
Yeah. See,
on the PDG.
Everyone's saying it worked. It worked.
We love you, Chuck.
Oh, Chuck. Yeah. So again, like I said, it doesn't matter which penalty you take. You get a penalty, whether it's the foot fault versus the hazard in this particular case. You get 1 stroke penalty. You throw it. He throws it in. Even if he would have, even if he were to get assessed the 2-stroke penalty for miscounting his scorecard, he still wins by a stroke. He had ample. Now, would it have mattered in the round, knowing the correct score? Like, oh, so I'm only down by 1. Does that change aspects of it? I don't know. You could argue that it would. You can argue that it wouldn't. What I do know is that Ricky either needs to wear smaller shoes or be a little bit more aware of his foot is, because it is becoming a pattern, unfortunately, for Ricky, particularly after the Memorial and now this, that people are going to be watching him more closely, and he should just take a half a step back. Because I'll tell you what, the argument is, well, is that extra 3 inches really helping him? And some people are like, well, no, but if you're not thinking about your footwork, you're going to be more focused on your throw. I don't necessarily know if that's the case with Ricky. That might be the case for most mortal people, but I don't personally think it would matter, although it should be followed. If he's going over, he needs to be called, and he needs to clean it up. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Dana, do you miss the tour?
Yes and no. But,
well, and to answer real quick, I'll answer Tim Quartz on the board. Tim, thanks for being a big supporter. We know you are all the time out there. It's clear Ricky is not foot faulting by 1 or 2 or 3 inches on the tee of a 700-foot hole because he's trying to gain 3 inches of extra distance. Now, you could certainly argue, hey, if you're not paying attention to your feet, like you said, you can concentrate on other stuff. It's not fair that one guy should worry about his feet and the other guy is like, oh, I don't really care where my feet go. So for that reason, I do agree that it's advantageous to not be concerned with your footwork. He's clearly not doing it because he's trying to gain, well, if I really step here, I got 3 extra inches. However, you do need to make sure that your foot's in the right spot, and that is all part of the precision and the challenge, whether it's a tee shot or an approach shot, to make sure that your feet are in the correct place and of legal stance when you're doing it. So it is important to me. You know, a lot of people come back with, whenever you talk foot faults and stances, they always say, who cares? It's 3 inches. Yeah, it's 3 inches only on an 800-foot hole. Does that 3 inches matter? It doesn't matter in terms of literally matter, the 3 inches. It matters in terms of the principle that you're not concerning yourself as much as you should be, as your competitors are, as to where you're placing your feet. Guess what? An extra 1 inch matters on the foul line of a basketball court or of a bowling alley or a 3-point line. Yeah, it does matter. So
yeah, and then go ahead, Dana.
I was gonna say I like to use I don't know how this analogy will work, but all right. So go walk up to your refrigerator, open your refrigerator door. All right, easy enough. Now go set a mini there. Leave the room. Go open a refrigerator and try to keep your foot behind the mini. You have to worry about your footing. You have to think about it. So I mean, it does matter. But yeah, I don't know. It's such a tough call to make most of the time, which is why we don't see it called a lot. But it seems like Ricky is getting a little outside of that tough to call at part and making it a little bit easier to call because he's missing by so much. But for those that say it doesn't matter on a wide open shot, it does matter.
I agree, it matters, and I think the question is, and I know Christy's really passionate on the board, who says, and maybe she's not applying it to this, but is it intentional circumventing of the rules by intentionally? He's not intentionally trying to circumvent the rules. No, by foot faulting.
That was a different discussion. That was someone asked, well, why can't you just walk up to a basket and drop and drop it in for a 2 on a foot fault, and everyone's saying that's intentional circumvention of the rules, and you will get DQ'd for that.
Just to finish the thought, though, and even if it's not, sorry, Christy, but the point is, he's not doing it intentionally. Is it egregious and is it repetitive? Possibly. It needs to be dealt with. but he's not intentionally do it. So let's be clear on that. He's not walking up to the tee saying, yeah, I'm really not going to care if I go 3 inches over. Like, although he may be doing
people are going to be taking notice now. It's out there.
That too.
It's happened. So I mean, what that's going to mean is instead of people on his card, throwing their shot and then looking away or looking at disc or whatever it might be, they're going to be looking at Ricky's feet and making those calls. So I imagine this isn't going to be the last time Ricky foot faults, and it's not going to be the last time he gets.
I for one applaud Ricky for bringing this this issue to the forefront like he's doing. He is on. He is a rule stickler and making sure that everyone is paying attention by being the sacrificial lamb for the first few events. So good on you, Ricky, for bringing this to everyone's attention. Hopefully we can put this behind us and everyone will be watching your toes very intently.
Gotta be on your toes.
I'm still so Chuck. Yeah, Chuck kind of chimed in. I'm really confused on this rule stuff.
Well, I don't think he had said about the actual score how it would be, it would be considered a standard scoring error for the final score, saying, oh, yes, you put down the wrong score for that particular hole. So he cleared that up.
All right, here's what he says. As already stated, there's only one penalty for a foot fault throw landing in a hazard. So Ricky was sitting 2 in the hazard and then made the putt for 3. He entered a 4 on the card. Does that make it clear? There's only one penalty. Well, I understand I want to know what, though. He's penalized. Is he penalized? Yeah, just for the scorekeepers at home, is he penalized because he landed in the hazard, or was he penalized because of the foot fault? He was penalized because he foot faulted, right? Is that what you're saying, Chuck? That's what we need ultimate clarification on here.
Yeah. Which one?
Because what if he threw it in a pond?
Yeah. What if it's?
Then you take it from the last inbounds position.
Okay.
I mean that with your 1-stroke penalty
for the foot fault, because you foot fault before you actually go in the pond.
Correct.
Okay, Chuck. That's what we're looking for clarification on. So, yeah, what a mess.
Yeah.
What a mess that was, because everyone arrived. His whole card arrived at the idea of, oh, yeah, you have a 4.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They all were good with it, said 4, and they moved on.
Yeah, well, someone said if you miss a Mando and go OB, only the missed Mando counts. That's the first.
If you miss the Mando first, obviously.
Correct. If you miss the Mando first.
Yeah.
If there's a Mando OB, then you're in trouble.
All right, dude, is that clear as mud? Did we get that all figured out?
I believe, yeah.
Okay. You always play the lie that you are given when it goes OB or misses a Mando. Oh, I'm sorry. You always play the lie that you get even when it goes OB or misses a Mando.
Just the penalty doesn't count if you foot faulted and it was seconded.
Okay. All right. I think we've made this clear as mud for everybody.
That's right. So next time there's an issue on your card, pull up this podcast, watch the last 40 minutes.
Scroll to
scroll to about 9 minutes and 30 or 9:30, about half hour into the show, and just play this. Just sit there, hold up the entire tournament, and just be like, hold on.
Chuck Kennedy says 1 shot penalty for foot fault only. There you have it.
That seems okay. Interesting. It doesn't seem like common sense, but
I understand.
Yeah, if that's the again with the rules, that if that's the rule, then who are we to we play by the rules.
All we can do is talk to our PDGA representatives and ask them to clear up the rules or something along those lines. And these are new rules, so And someone says, yeah, now imagine how the players on the course felt trying to figure this out. And they couldn't just chuck.
Well, and I wonder if there was a discussion, and we don't see that in the footage per se, I'm guessing, but I wonder if there was a continued discussion, or was it just obvious? Did they simply walk off a hole 15, go right to 16 and like four, yep, sounds good, and write it down and move on?
I guarantee that it was no one even thought twice about it. Like, damn, that sucks for Rick. He's getting 2 strokes, but it makes sense. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know didn't even Nate and Jeremy, Nate Sexton and Nate Sexton. Wow, I almost got their names wrong. Sexton and Germ talked about it as if it was a 4 as well, even in the commentary.
Can we take credit for that? For spreading that?
For spreading what?
For spreading the incorrect information back in October.
I don't know about that. I'm guessing you said it, not me.
We had a nice discussion about it because we at the time thought it was crazy. Like, wow, you can get 2 penalty strokes, because we were discussing the USDGC hole 5, saying if someone had foot faulted when trying to go over the water, they're going to get 2 strokes now. But all right, I think we've milked that discussion. Dana, do you have anything else for us?
I don't even want to talk about anything else. Give a couple shout outs. Carl Ejolven won an A-tier out in Sweden. Chris Dickerson got back to his winning ways, winning an A-tier. Sarah Cunningham won an A-tier. This is interesting here. One thing that I noticed, Madisonville Open A-tier, Christine Jennings from Dayton, Ohio. She's 875 rated. She's an amateur, and she won the four-person FPO field, beat Holly Finley, turned down the cash. Holly got second and got $600 for getting second. But this Christine Jennings, maybe a front runner for the AM World Championships. She's got a bunch of events that she signed up for. She's played 6, 7, 8 events already this year. Actually 10, more than that. She's double-digit events this year. Terry, you know anything about her?
I know that she's very active on social media. I know that she puts out a lot of posts, and she talks about doing clinics, and I believe she was recently picked up by Innova. I'm going to go ahead and say I think she's also sponsored by Hazy Shade, who I visited their pro shop last year, a very well-established outfit there in Dayton area. And she's just super serious about golf and out there practicing and playing a ton. So, yeah, I'm good call on someone to keep an eye out for in terms of AM World's potential. But I would personally say, because I've seen her and met her and watched her play, that's for me that's also an obvious choice. I mean, she's definitely has some great skills. And again, very active. So if you want to see her progression and her learn and continue to get better and all the things that she's traveling and doing, very active. So you can go out and find her.
Are we going to see a battle in at AM Worlds between Christy and Burks?
Lucy Burks?
Or Lucy's probably going to play junior.
Lucy's younger.
Yeah, Lucy's probably going to play junior.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't looked into too many others, but if you were to just have randomly said a week ago, name a top front runner or contender for AM Worlds on the women's side, her name definitely would have been right on the tip of my tongue as one to throw out there. So good call there, Dana. Not to jinx her, but she's definitely got some great skills, and she's obviously serious about it. If she's in fact turning down $600 first place at this event, and beating other pro women.
Yeah, she averaged over 900 on the weekend. So good shooting to her, and definitely name to watch. And I guess since we're down there in Madisonville, Sam Lee from Mount Sterling, Kentucky, got his first A-tier win, 976 rated. Didn't have a whole lot of studs playing down there, but there were some good golfers. But Sam used a couple really strong rounds to win $1,050, and he won by a couple throws over Jacob Henson, and by more than a few throws than my dude Paul Oman. Dutch Napier finished in 4th. But That's all I got for you. It's late. I'm tired. I was
It
tired
is.
at 8 o'clock.
Are you excited for San Francisco, Dana?
Yeah, yeah. I'm ready to watch some live disc golf and the Pro Tour back on schedule. We're in the midst of an epic West Coast swing. I'm really excited to see this course and how it plays. I've heard great things. I know that they've worked hard on the event and the course and done some test events and all that. So, yes, I'm very excited for the return of the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
And San Francisco starts this Friday. It will be 5 p.m. Eastern is when the men tee off, or when our pre-show starts, or maybe it's 4 p.m. Eastern. We're doing some crazy stuff. So
I
just
have no idea.
just go
check dgp.com/watch.
DGPT.com.
Yeah, sorry, dgpt.com/watch, and you'll find it. And there will, of course, be live coverage at the San Francisco Open taking place this weekend. And real quick, before you let you go, Dana, as some may or may not have gathered or known, I was able to scoot over to Minnesota. I had a couple of tasks lined up, and one, I made a pit stop along the way to talk about a potential course design. So excited about that, but then also got there for the final round of 2 of the Minnesota Amateur Championships, and so close your ears if you're waiting for the video to drop on that. But I followed the 5 gentlemen who were on the lead card, where they played 27 holes at Kaposia for the first time, I think, in 4 or 5 years. We had great weather, and when it was all said and done, Randy Harold came off the out of, I think, second place. He was 4 strokes behind, and ultimately came back and took things down. I think he was 4 strokes behind after day 1, or maybe 4 or 5. So I have that footage, and it'll all be put together. 27 holes out at Kaposia at the Minnesota Am Championship. So thanks to Tom Marcus and the whole crew and all the supporters out there. It was a lot of fun. Little fact, we covered the Minnesota Am Championships live back in 2014 as our first month.
Second ever event. I believe.
Yeah, our first month of live coverage ever. And it's a great place to be, and we saw Am Worlds there, and lots of great history in Minnesota. And thank you to Beth Palm, who reached out while I was out filming, and she said, "You're in Minnesota. Me and my husband would love to take you out, play around the golf, and maybe grab some dinner." I said, "I got to get back out of town right away, but I do appreciate the very, very gracious offer. I'll take you up another day." So congrats to Randy and everyone else out there in Minnesota, as my daughter says. And Rebecca Heim took it down on the women's side. And you've seen tons of her pictures throughout the years, notably with the Disc Golf Pro Tour a year or so ago. And she took it down on the advanced women's side. So congrats to all of them.
All right, Danny, do you got a big hug to give out before you just shut it down for the night?
Big hug to Val and Sharon.
All right.
All right.
Makes total sense. All right, Dana, thanks again for joining us. Your checks, as always, is in the mail. Keep waiting for those.
Just keep waiting.
Keep waiting. We will.
That $20 super chat that locked me up for like the next 3 years. So.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're giving you everything that Ali gives us, and I think he came in with 25 kroners, Swedish kroners tonight. So we'll earmark those for you, buddy.
It's a pain because I need to go to the bank, ask for kroners, and then I send them to Dana, and he looks at them like, "What the hell?" So
we'll give you all 25 of those Swedish kroners.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dana. We will see you.
For the girls.
we will see you next week.
All right. Good night, buddy. And Dana Vici giving us some insights, a little extended Dana tonight. There was clearly a lot going on this weekend. It seemed to be, of course, it was a national tour event, so plenty of eyes, plenty of people watching. You know, lots of different storylines. Val jumps out to an early lead. Ultimately relinquishes that on during the second round where Paige is charging, but then Val's DQ'd. We saw, I think, 1 or 2 women withdraw, possibly. I think
So Leslie Todd withdraw.
And I thought there was another one that we saw. Maybe not. I might be confused. So we saw some withdrawing on that end. Dustin Keegan, thanks for the super chat, Ryan Pilcher. Dustin Keegan had made a post. He was a little bit frustrated with some of the details of the event. I think we also see Braden Coolidge, hats off to him, he has been tournament director for a number of years now, for the last 3 or 4-ish, 2, 3, 4-ish. I'm getting confused now, but I believe it's being passed on to yet another tournament director, and that's a massive undertaking, that Braden. So thank you for your services of any national tour event there, Braden. And then on the men's side,
bring back the steady Ed.
Oh, okay. On the men's side, we see, of course, Ricky Wysocki, ultimately your winner, but not without drama. And I think roller coaster was the term that got thrown around quite a bit. We saw, way back, you saw Paul Macbeth charging and then take a bogey, but charging, and then take a bogey, but charging. And then you see Josh Anthon and Ricky and all this other chaos.
Matt Beatty on the course says that Braden was TD for 6 years and
Holy
he's taking over. So
yes.
Good job, Matt. Applaud you for taking over.
That's what I thought I saw. So yes, Matt, welcome. How could you not be excited about all of that?
Welcome to the club, buddy.
Wow, it was really 6 years for Braden. Okay, I guess I lost track of years then. I was thinking it was only 2 or 3, but I was there for a couple of them. So yes, awesome. And Matt, let's think to have you on and talk a little Masters Cup sometime in the future before you get at it next year. Minnesota AM Championships we just covered and talked about. Anything else that we saw?
Did we want to discuss at all Dustin Keegan's post, or should we? Or is that?
I mean,
he went out. Do we?
Go ahead. I don't care.
Okay. He went out on social.
It's public. It's on the Facebooks.
It's on the Facebooks. He went out on social media and more or less expressed his dissatisfaction with how the FPO field he felt was treated on Saturday. That the FPO went off after the MPO on Saturday. They flip-flopped. And he said that while following them, the last 5 or 6 holes, he saw spotters were gone by then. And remember, it's the end of the day. He's probably following the first or second card. Spotters had left. Event staff was nowhere to be found, he said. And he saw people tearing down the course while the FPO were still on it. And that there was no water. So he put out and expressed his dissatisfaction with that on Saturday and felt it was unfair for the FPO and how they were being treated. I commented and said, I 100% agree with you. I think that is unfortunate. We need to treat the FPO with all the respect that we treat the MPO with, and then some. But hopefully you submitted this to the TD report or the tournament report, because if you note to everybody listening to this, whether you're a 10-year or 20 or 30-year pro, or it's your first event, if you have a problem with the event, social media, while will get you a lot of likes and a lot of views, could do absolutely nothing to improve the event. You could cry about it all you want. And I'm not saying Dustin was crying about it. I'm just saying in general, someone could. You need to fill out the report, because it's not the TD's job. It's not the PDGA's job to scour social media to look for your complaints. Make sure that gets filled out. You want to put it on social media as well? That's your deal. And go ahead, or don't, or whatever, however you feel about it. But fill out the report, because there's no other way that a TD is going to learn if they're a first-year TD or their 20th TD if they don't know about the problem. And there are plenty of our older TDs that may not be on Facebook and may not be on social media. And I'll talk about some older people a little later in the show about their social media things. But please fill out the report. It does everybody a favor, and it has a record. There's a permanent record of it. So if this is a consistent thing, if the PDGA looks and says, oh yeah, for the last 3 years, we've seen that a specific tournament doesn't have water at the end of the day, it can be addressed. It can be brought up with the TD. They can, guess what? You're going to be in a C tier next year instead of the B tier, or whatever it is. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, and I guess it's just
that's all I'm going to say.
That's all you can say. You can say whatever you want. I'm going to say more. No, I'll just follow it. And the last point will be, somebody even said, well, the TD for next year is here and he's listening, and you guys are talking about it. Yeah, but you still want the due diligence of going through the proper channels. I think everyone on the planet has either said or thought at one time, I would love to take some constructive criticism, and that's all part of that event feedback. If you want to go out there and you want to give the feedback, or you have it, just do it so that it can be documented and so that it can go through all the proper channels. Like you said, if you want to take it to social media, that is or isn't your thing, that's fine. But make sure you also take that extra step just to be sure that it gets filed and then it goes to all of through all the proper channels. And that's a really good point to be made. You can fill them out for any and every event. So please just make sure that you do it. Good call. All right. And Melvin says also on there, and this is something I'm getting better at, go out and give praise too.
Yes.
I mean, we're so likely and so common, all of us are so adapt to when something goes wrong. I always go to Twitter with it. When something goes wrong, it's so easy to make your complaint about it and tag all the people and be frustrated about it. But I would say conversely, when things go right, even if they're minor, don't be afraid to praise them and do just that. Something I didn't tell you the other day, just like when I purchased a new piece of equipment and it went on sale $200 cheaper at Best Buy, my price adjustment was super easy. And I didn't even have to tell them that Johnny and I used to work at Best Buy in the 90s. They just did their price adjustment anyway.
57066.
Exactly.
That was my employee number.
Store 027 back in the day.
Yep. District 3.
Anyway, so go out and praise them. If they do something well, praise them on that end as well. Everybody would appreciate that. All right. Yes, feedback is always welcome, Matt says. Good and bad. This is how we get better, or as how we get better TDs, and I totally agree with that. So do you have any...
No, someone kept asking, Jeremy Stewart kept asking, who won the Masters? And
he's talking about who won, I think he's talking about who won Masters at the Masters Cup.
Oh, who won Masters at the Masters Cup? I thought he was hinting at like, hey, I won Masters. Talk about me and my name. I'm going to mute Terry here. At the Masters Cup, that wouldn't be part of the national tour. That would be an 8. Yeah, that would be an 8. That would be the A-tier Santa Cruz Masters Cup. All right, yeah, we'll briefly talk about this real quick. Patrick Brown, local, kind of. Yeah, very well. He's more San Francisco area, so whatever. He ends up taking it down, shooting 11 under, beating Robert Bainbridge and Yeri Eshelman and Ray Johnson. So he wins by 3 strokes, shooting what it looked like right about 10-18 golf, something like that, 10-20 golf, somewhere right around there. So right around his rating. Congratulations. And there was no Pro Masters women. So
okay. What I'd like to talk about, first of all, I think there was an update, and I think I had an exclusive update that I was going to share with everyone, and maybe it's, if I can find it quickly, I will share it with you guys. There was an update about, as we're switching, we talked about the National Tour, moving into the Pro Tour. Also, real quickly, some of you know, I did a quick Q&A with Dave Felberg, which was more challenging than it should have been from a technology side. I'll take the blame for it, I guess. But there was a quick clarification over on the next gen side of things. Real quickly, anyone that competes in a regional qualifier or a local qualifier, I should say, is then eligible to also now to sign up for the regional championships. So if you compete in any qualifier or if you run a qualifier in that region, you are then qualified and eligible to sign up for a regional qualifier. That's something that they kind of went back and forth on last year. They ultimately ended up making it happen. And this year, they weren't sure if they were going to do that. So I think they just announced it kind of secretly today. So anyone that is excited about it and wants to get on board with that, for the Next Gen Tour, if you compete in any Next Gen qualifier in that region, you can sign up for the regional championships, or if you run one. So maybe I'll sign up because I'm going to run one, and then I'm going to run the regional qualifier on my birthday in August. Next Gen, here I come.
I want congratulations on the Next Gen Tour. I need to look at you here.
What? Kevin Keel says
I took-
$5.
Someone said,
for the
"Hey, there's
super chat."
a ratings update," and I was like,
Oh, yes, there was today.
I took a 70-point hit.
You went up, I assume.
No, I'm an 885 rated player as of right now.
Really?
Yeah, 885. Now, granted, I know there were some issues they were saying with the ratings in some events, but it says here I went from 943 to 888. Looking at I only have 5 ratings in my rating. It's an 865, a 993. Oh, that bumped up actually from this flex here. 946, 927. I'm sorry, 827 and 823. So it's probably pretty accurate at this point. It's
I don't know where the mistake is that you're finding.
It's not.
Oh.
But I find it funny that I dropped 70 points.
That's pretty good.
You dropped a 950, Terry. So, wow, 885. I don't think I've been 885 since probably the early 2000s. Maybe even before that. That's kind of funny. It just means I need to get out and play. I mean, I'm an 885 rated player, and one of my last 2 rounds I threw a 990 rated round.
It says welcome to the rec division.
Yes, I'm with open arms.
You absolutely should. All right. It sounds like Kevin says it's some stuff, or I'm not sorry. Chuck says some stuff is being fixed. I don't know what was wrong, what was or wasn't. There was I saw a discussion about a Wisconsin event. I did not dig into it. I figure, again, just have to say Chuck's name 3 times. He shows up. He clarifies and fixes everything.
You have to be careful not to say too many. I mean, there's something bad will happen.
If I catch my daughter saying "what the Chuck," then I know we're in trouble.
Or if you see her doing her math homework and she suddenly just says Chuck, and expects Chuck Kennedy to help her with the homework.
Yes, then we are in trouble.
Do you want to talk about your?
Yes. So moving on.
Your problem.
I don't know if it's a problem. It could be a problem. Interestingly enough, in some research and in some research today, it sounds as if, and we just saw at this last national tour event, we saw FPO lead card by Central Coast.
Yeah.
We saw MPO lead card by Jomez. They were playing, well, let me back up. At Vegas, we saw Jomez was able to capture FPO and MPO, and between some fancy editing and some long nights and timing and whatnot, they were able to put out both men's and women's FPO and MPO featured card footage all weekend. We saw that get changed up a little bit at the Glass Blown Open, where we saw, of course, we had the live doing a little bit of both for the 2 out of the 3 days, but then we saw, again, Jomez on MPO lead card, and FPO lead card was Central Coast. Sounds as if at the next national tour event at the Beaver State Fling in a few weeks, there's going to be MPO lead card, I believe, by Central Coast, and FPO lead card, featured lead, by Jomez. And I think that's awesome. Obviously, there's 4 rounds over 3 days, amazing courses, amazing facility.
But
the question is that all of the coverage we're going to see? So, some have been disappointed or let down that at a few of these big events, although we of course appreciate the coverage being put out by anyone, some people are left wanting more. Is that a fair statement? Left wanting more.
yes.
Did we see any other cards
No.
at Masters Cup?
No.
Okay.
Here's what I'll say. I know we are getting spoiled with the amount of coverage. It used to be great to have just MPO covered with 1 camera. Then we get good 2-camera coverage. Then we get multiple card coverage. Now we're getting great Jomez and CCDG graphics and coverage. And I've said it once, said it 100 times. We need to keep pushing. We need to continue to get coverage of additional cards. That's our next step.
If possible.
If possible, if offered, or if allowed.
Okay, so as Chris Cobb on the board says, it only takes more money for more coverage. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. with relation to Beaver State Fling, knowing that those two amazing teams and crews have MPO1 and FPO1, we'll just call them those, cards covered, I express some interest as it's an amazing place. I've been there before. I'm very familiar with Milo. The course, the caliber of players, the national tour, all of that, top notch. Everybody, if you're not saying Beaver State's one of the best, you don't know what you're talking about, is how far I'll go as to saying that. I was thinking what would be great is if I could somehow do maybe some fundraising through some amazing Smashies or Disc Golf Guy vloggers, followers, or whatever, or maybe some other sponsorships, or however, somehow raise a little bit of capital to find myself at Beaver State Fling. How would you guys feel about other cards being covered? How would you feel about that, Johnny? If FPO card is covered by Jomez, an MPO card is covered by Central Coast.
I would love to see additional card coverage.
You would.
Only because it... take 2 steps back from the politics. Only because I want to see more cards covered, and eventually we're going to run into an instance where the winner is going to come off the second card. We're not going to have
third
or third or fourth card coverage, and we're not going to have them. I mean,
okay.
That's what I want to see.
All right. So at that point, I thought, hey, I'd love to maybe contribute to more coverage. I wanted to find out what the rules or regulations or policies were. I think I just saw a week or so ago that the Masters Cup, well, someone that is within the disc golf media had made a statement saying that, well, you know, there could have been more coverage at Masters Cup, but there was not. And so I said, well, let's remedy that, and I'd like to be part of that solution. I had received official word today that if I was interested in covering golf at the Beaver State Fling, that I would have to produce equal content from both the men's and the women's rounds.
So my understanding is what that means is that right now the PDGA has a, I don't want to call it a policy, but they have a drive that says at our major events, our NTs, not majors, I use that term.
Watch
as a
that
big
word.
Event. I know I use that as a big word. At our big events, our NTs and majors, we want it to be equal between MPO and FPO coverage, which sounds great in theory. It says, hey, if rather than have two people cover MPO 1 and 2 and no one cover FPO, we want to make sure that someone covers FPO. So they're paying the production companies incentive to cover FPO because right now there is less incentive for a production company like CCDG or Jomez to cover FPO because they get a quarter of the views right now, as we've seen. Sponsors are less likely to do that because they're getting a quarter of the views. So instead, the PDGA is kicking in a little bit of extra cash to help get the production companies there, whether it's Jomez 1 week or CCDG the other, to have them cover FPO. Now, what they're telling you now is you're a respected. Yeah, I know.
I don't think they use that word. Watch your mouth.
I use that word. Respected video card coverage. And if you're going to cover MPO2 like you want, well, then by their aspect, they want it to be fair and equal, and they need FPO2 covered. So you need to produce the same amount of rounds in MPO that you do FPO, correct?
That's what I was told. That they would like it to be equal. That's
what
it needs to be. Excuse me.
But they want you to do it on your own dime.
Well, let me back up. I offered.
Oh, you offered.
I said if I were to arrive with no financial consideration
from the PDGA.
So if I got my own flights, I got my own hotels, my own, people to help me out, and I arrived at this event and I wanted to cover footage. If I wanted to cover 4 rounds of golf, I was told that I would need to cover, if in the example of 4 rounds of golf, there's 4 rounds that can be played there. I would need to cover 2 rounds of men and 2 rounds of women. Because the PDGA, understandably, which we're all members of, well, not most of us, are members of, very much wants to push for equal coverage. And I completely understand and support that notion. unless, well, I support that notion when they're compensating said people. If I'm doing this without compensation from the PDGA, I feel like that's a really big ask to say, hey, that's great. You want to show up and you'd love to film 4 rounds of disc golf. But if you're going to film 4 rounds, 2 of them have to be of FPO. And since Jomez is already on FPO 1, of course, which is, I'm glad they are, you would be picking some other card other than FPO 1. You'd be picking FPO 2 or 3 or 4. So that's my question, I guess, is that the best approach? And then I'll follow it up and say, where does the line get drawn? Because my follow-up question, which to their credit, they either haven't seen or didn't reply to me when I followed up with a final clarification tonight. I said, well, would this apply if I instead took if I flew myself to Kansas City for the weekend and they had an A tier going on and I wanted to cover the A tier, would they tell me the same thing?
No.
Why not?
Because they are concerned right now about their premier events, NTs and majors. Those are the ones that are, I mean, they're all sanctioned by the PDGA, but those are the ones that the PDGA are focusing on. And here's what I'll say. I don't disagree with this, with the policy on its head, but as we've seen, and I mentioned this to someone at the PDGA, there's 150 MPL players. There's 20 maybe
30, 40.
We'll say 30. There's 30 FPL players. Why not make it, and granted, this is kind of getting around the circumventing, so to speak, their thing. Why not make it percentage based? If it's going to be equal coverage, let's look at it on just like you do with entry fee money. Like, you know, if I were to give $5,000 to the event, I wouldn't expect it to go 50-50 MPO FPO. I would expect, and it's up to the TD ultimately, I would think that the TD would go, okay, well, we have 20% FPO and 80% MPO. We're gonna split it 80-20.
And that equality and that conversation can all be another day. Yes,
completely agree. What I'm saying is that I think maybe that should be the avenue that the PDGA looks at when they talk about equal coverage. And it's unfortunate, but there is a huge drop off in FPO talent when you go from FPO 1 to FPO 2 card. Because as we've seen, there is a level. There's about 6 women in the field right now that are heads and shoulders. Well, there's 5 women that are heads and shoulders above everybody else, and there's one that's stepping on their heads and shoulders, almost quite literally. Paige is dominant. And then there's about 4 or 5 other women that are really competing hard for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Unfortunately, and for better or not for better, for worse, a lot of people aren't watching them. And so ultimately, whoever's covering them is doing more work because there's a lot more shots, and they're getting almost no YouTube views at this point. So they're not making any revenue off YouTube, unlike MPO1 and even FPO1, which will still get, FPO1 will get a smattering of hits.
Usually a fraction.
A fraction. You know, if Jomez puts it out, it'll probably get 15,000 views or 20,000 or something, as opposed to the 70 to 80,000 that they're normally seeing. So to me, I'm thinking that, yes, the PDGA they have the right thing in mind, but ultimately I think this is hampering the media. If there was nobody covering FPL 1 and you wanted to show up and they didn't want to pay you,
which I've done plenty of times
I know.
Over the years.
I could understand them saying, "Hey Terry, we want you to cover FPL 1." But FPL 1 is already covered. MPO 1 is covered.
Mm-hmm.
You're more likely to get more exciting and a better chance of a winner coming off the second card on MPO 2 than you are FPO 2. And I think that is where the focus should be, in quotes.
Mm-hmm.
So just, I don't really do post-production stuff. I'm just giving my skewed opinion, being as close to you as I am and knowing kind of how the things work. So
It was an interesting eye opener today that that I guess I don't fully understand it. Yeah, and we've been asking for some
year.
And part of this is as a media collective, we've all been asking, hey, let's start. Things we keep saying, things have been in the wild, wild west. Everyone's kind of finding themselves. There's businesses that are growing and thriving and expanding, and new YouTubers and new content creators are coming along every single week. And there's some that were named here and some that aren't. There's a lot of possibilities and a lot of things. Let's start getting closer and closer to having a formal and developed policy. You can then agree or disagree all day long with the policy. Let's get these policies in place, and then so everyone's on the same page. When I was updated of what the policy today was, and that's why I've got no problem sharing it, because it's just that. It was the policy that was presented to me today. I wanted to share it in that's where it stands. And to me, I'm not sure that I can personally back it and see the full logic. And I would love for someone to be able to give me a more detailed explanation, but because I don't understand. I'll just say that. I don't understand. If I were to not rely on any PDGA resources, which they have graciously helped me in the past, but this time, if I were to rely on any PDGA resource, not to rely on any PDGA resources, and show up and film 4 rounds of coverage at the Beaver State Fling, which is a ton of work, to be told that that's great. You're welcome to do that. Just 2 of them have to be second card or worse, so to speak, of FPO. And let me be very clear. I have, as most of you know, I have no disrespect for any FPO players. I have covered them more than any other entity. In fact, add up every other entity combined, and they still don't scratch how much effort I've put into FPO coverage throughout the years. My point is, if I'm showing up to do bonus or extra work or whatever you want to call it, and I'm not being compensated, to be told that you have to go cover certain cards as part of a policy, I just do not understand it. And maybe I'm missing something, which is why I'm bringing it up tonight.
Steve Hill from the PDGA is out on the board. He had, and just like we had just discussed with Dustin Keegan, this is our version of social media. We're taking it out to social media. We will fill out the proper forms. We will bring it up with the PDGA. As Steven, it's so weird to call you Steven. As Steve Hill knows, I've been very active in media policy and still waiting to hear back on that for the future. And I think this is a good avenue we can kind of maybe roll this into. So we will be definitely discussing with the PDGA what the policies are for now and in the future. This isn't us just using our soapbox to piss and moan or discuss or talk or however it's coming across. This will definitely be something that we bring to the PDGA as well.
Yeah, and again, I bring
with
it
a
here
Molotov cocktail
because I feel comfortable bringing it here because I have been informed of the policy. It is just that it's a policy, so it's not like it's a big insider secret. It's a policy. I wanted to share the policy, and I wanted to share some understanding and or see if there was anything I'm missing when I'm explaining this to the rest of the world. If somebody said to me, "Hey Terry, you going to be at Beaver State Fling?" No, I don't think. Well, why not? Well, because if I go and I fill 4 rounds, I'm being dictated as to which divisions and which cards I can or can't cover. Oh, but you're getting paid really well to be there. No, I'm not.
Does it matter what rounds? Like if you pick 1 and 2, rounds 1 and 2 from the FPO, and then 3 and 4 from the MPO.
The way it was presented to me is that they wanted equal coverage.
It just.
So
there's all sorts of little. Nitpicky.
If we want to get nitpicky, and if the PDGA really genuinely wants equal coverage of both men and women,
just set up a camera on hole 1, plop it down, and hit record, and walk away. Like I got hole 1. We got everybody on the whole division. They're all in hole 1. All 30 people.
That's true. No, here's the way. What I'll do, I will film. At the next 3-round event. I will film the first 27 holes that the women play. And on the men's side, I will film the last 27 holes because there's usually only 3 rounds in an NT. And I'll film 27 holes of one, so 1.5 rounds of each of them. Then it'll be truly equal coverage, because otherwise I don't know how I'm going to get equal coverage at a regular 3-round event. It just doesn't. All right, enough of that for now. So,
are you done pissing and moaning?
I'm not pissing and moaning. I am explaining where we are at.
You are using your platform.
Yes. To explain where we are at.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
So.
No.
All right. And you know what? If you guys want to, I don't want to say prove me wrong. That's not the right way. If you guys want to support it, and if maybe I'm just exaggerating and crazy, write a big fat check. I will go cover FPO 9th card. I'll cover FPO 2nd. I don't care. I'll go cover MPO 23rd card. If somebody wants to write a big enough check to make this happen, again, different story. I'm talking about this on my own volition and my own compensation, not off of someone else's. So if you want to say, hey, I want to dictate, then I'll go where you put the money. But until then, and no, $50 won't get me to do whatever you want, Johnny.
Come on. It used to.
We're going to move on, but that's where we're at.
I want to talk about something that we've been sharing on social media for the past week. It involves one Scott Stokely.
Yes. This
will be probably the last thing we talk about tonight before we wrap up into the after show. For those of you that are unaware or haven't seen some of the posts that we've made or shared, Scott Stokely reached out to us. Oh, I take it back. He reached out to social media last week and talked about, hey, what podcast does everyone like? Thanks to everyone who said Smashbox. And then,
what were you thinking?
Yeah, who knows? And then he reached out and said, does anyone know how to run a podcast? Well, I reached out to him and I said, hey, what are you looking to do? And he came back and we had a conference call with Terry and him and I. Sounds so professional. And he basically said, I want to do this cool history podcast about the history of disc golf. I want to go state by state, talk about kind of the godfathers and of each particular state, and coordinate that with my Blue Power initiative. So he's going to be going to Kansas soon. So he wants to start with his Kansas. So I said, you know what? I think we can help you out. Doing a podcast it's not difficult, but the way he wants to do it, it's not easy, because he wants to bring in up to like 3, 4, maybe even 5 guests and run kind of a podcast that way. So what we have decided is that tomorrow night, same bat time, same bat channel, at 9:00 Central Time, assuming everything goes well, we are going to have Scott Stokely's History and Legends presented by Blue Power Disc Golf. I'm trying to find a way to get a Smashbox in there.
Powered by Smashbox.
Powered by Smashbox. So it'll be on this channel tomorrow. If everything goes well in the next couple of weeks, he wants to do one a week, we'll probably spin this off into its own podcast so that it will have its own feed. And but for the first few, we're just gonna cram it in with the Smashbox feed. So you might see some extra podcasts come up over the next couple weeks in your Smashbox feed. If everything goes well, please reach out to Scott. Let us know. I'll be able to see some numbers here and there, but it'll also be live on his Facebook page, his Blue Power Facebook page, and I'll probably also put it out on our YouTube page. So it'll be simulcast, so to speak, on both of them. But unlike us, where we take care of YouTube chat, Scott wants to focus on Facebook chat because that's where his crowd is. That's where he does everything. So ultimately, he's going to go state by state, talk with all these people. This is where I made the joke earlier about old people. He messaged me today. He's like, so some of these guys I'm talking to, I don't know if they have smartphones or laptops or webcams. Can we still get them on? And I said, well, we might be able to do a phone
as long
call.
as you can teleport.
Yeah. So I said we might be able to get him into a conference call and then bring the conference call in. It's not going to be nearly as exciting or visual, but ultimately this is an audio medium. And then he said, oh yeah, I talked to some guy, and I'm going to leave his name out because I don't know if he wants him to know. He said he's got to come over to my house because his hearing aids won't work well with So this is what I'm dealing with. So tomorrow at 9:00, if you notice that maybe we're running a little late or some things don't quite work out with some of our guests, sit tight. We'll get it situated. We're going to be dealing with some of our, again, I'm going to say with godfathers or grandfathers, depending on who you ask, of the sport. And Scott's going to tell stories and talk about them on how their sport grew in the first clubs and this and that. So tune in tomorrow for that. It is it's going to be I think it's going to be fun if we can get it off the ground and get it moving, and we can get some of these old guys some technology.
Well, it is something that it's a very niche area, and I love the idea that someone's going to take it head on. And I would say that to anyone, just like any kind of coverage, any kind of podcast, if there's something that some very specific area that, or general, but if you have a really specific idea or subset of ideas or angle that you want to take, by all means, do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. The technology is easy enough. The access is easy enough. Go out and start doing it. And if your medium is Instagram, I think of someone like Chasing the Bees, who does so much great stuff that you see there. But if it's Instagram or YouTube or written, I know people like Disc Golf Pro Tour and PDGA and Alta World, for instance, have all talked about having writers joining along with Dude. There's so many avenues, so many channels that if you're want to be actively involved anywhere in disc golf, I feel like there's a spot for you. You just need to either join on and link up with someone to make it happen, or you just need to carve it out yourself. I mean, us two yahoos have a podcast, for God's sake.
It can't be that tough. Chris Young's asked, is Stokely starting with a state tomorrow to look at or not yet? Yes, tomorrow's Kansas. So he is beginning with Kansas because it ties in, like I said, with his Blue Power Initiative. He's going to be doing some events in Kansas, so he thought it would be fun to maybe track where he goes for the Blue Power thing. So I think he's going to do Kansas. He has a list on his website. The second one might be Colorado even.
I think that sounds right.
Kansas, then Colorado. So ultimately, if you know someone or can help someone out, reach out. If you have a great idea for a podcast that you want to run and just don't know how to do it, give us a call. We can maybe help you out. We're always looking for additional stuff for Smashbox. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we can provide not only a potential built-in audience for you, but also, obviously, Johnny can help with some of the technical side. And then we're looking to grow and expand and be part of a kind of a bigger Smashbox network. So I guess I just made that whole big spiel, and I wasn't necessarily just directing it or even thinking about tying it to us. But if there is, and you're interested in collaborating or teaming up, and seems like you have a clue, at least as much as we do, maybe, which again is setting the bar pretty low. If you have a clue, then we certainly should talk about it. So, all right. There's a lot of good stuff out there. There was jam-packed. There's a lot of things tonight. Lots of action. We're excited, of course.
Still got it in 2 hours, man.
Very excited to head to San Francisco. I fly out tomorrow. Actually, me and 2 additional cameramen are going to all be flying into San Francisco tomorrow. Thursday is going to be a big prep day to get things going. I know Steve Dodge already arrived there today. I think I saw Dixon Jowers was in San Francisco yesterday and out there today taking it all in. And we're really excited to see. This is one of those few stops that are completely new to us. Obviously, being now here in our 3rd year, a lot of this stuff is hitting our stride. We're gonna run into a brand new stop, and we're excited to see how things are gonna unfold when we're out in San Francisco this weekend. And if it's half as exciting as the Masters Cup action, woo, we're in for it.
Just out of curiosity, Jamie Thomas made a post here about Sean Jack, who is the SFO TD, and he sent an email to the competitors saying, we've heard your concerns and have made the decision to hire a security company to monitor the lower lot outside the course throughout the entire tournament. Local police have also been notified and will increase patrolling. If you're staying in San Francisco, we still recommend that you take an Uber or Lyft. We have storage lockers where you can store your extra belongings. There was some concern that the area of San Francisco, it's not bad, but it's San Francisco, and it's a very heavily populated area. And there has been some break-ins in cars, I guess, in the general area. People were saying not to leave anything valuable in sight. So it looks like they are taking an extra step and precaution above and beyond of something I've never personally seen, hiring a security firm for a disc golf event.
I don't know. At GBO, they hire some pretty buff security guards to watch the doors.
Those are usually to watch the DD doors and for the couple of the outside things. So they do. I always give them a hard time when I walk into them because I'm taller than them, but they would crumple me up like a piece of paper.
It should be a lot of fun as we're going to be heading over there. And looking forward to, just like I said, a really good weekend. Live coverage all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm not going to try and guess the times, but dgpt.com/watch. That will bring you to all of the information that you need to know. I think we can wrap things up here for our regular show. We'll stick around for the after show. I have no idea what we'll be talking about there, but it may or may not be disc golf related and then some. Wow. Yeah, it's been good. All right. So I'd like to thank Dynamite for joining us. I'm going to reach out to Steve Rico. We may or may not see him in the after show. I'll reach out to him and see if he's available. He may or may not be. But nonetheless, looking forward to seeing everyone out in California in the next few days. So for Johnny V, Dynamite Dana Vici, and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, that's been podcast 196. Thank you. And we'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 196 after show stuff. We're here. What is it? It's still May 22nd. We just got done talking all about everything kind of California. That included the craziness that we saw at the Masters Cup. Lots of good play, some rules stuff, all that goodness. And then continuing that West Coast swing, talked a little bit about what we may or may not see for some additional coverage and coverage moving forward in post-production world, live world, all that stuff as 2018 rolls on.
I watched Evil Genius on Netflix. Someone on the board was talking about that. Pretty crazy. Yeah, it was great. It was like a 4 or 5 episode little documentary about some crazy woman and robbing a bank, and it was really good.
Okay, if you say so.
It was good.
All right, in the after show, as so many of you know, it provides a great opportunity for us to have direct interaction with whom we are seeing on the YouTube chat. So if there's something that you would like to address or bring up, this is the easiest way to go about doing that. Should we switch our show up and
probably not. Whatever the answer is,
and should we emulate? I mean, there's at least two other podcasts that I know of, if not more, actually. I think almost all of them do it. They ask for questions ahead of time, and then they store them, and then they probably get around to addressing them. I think News and Brews does that. Disc Golf Answer Man, I mean, it's in their title. I think they answer questions. Final round. They still exist. I think they prompt for questions. I think our friends over at the Disc Golf Show prompt for questions. Maybe we should be prompting people for questions.
Sure, I'll leave that up to you. Let's see how that goes.
All right.
So everybody send your questions to Terry.
Send them on in. Send it.
We'll
they say.
We'll see how that works out for everybody.
All right. So in the meantime, I'll just cheat and go off of the board. Okay. What about the Disc Golf Podcast? I don't know, says Chesley. I pronounced your name right for the first time ever, Chesley. What about it? I believe they're out of California. I'm not sure what they've got going on. I know for the longest time they were doing a monthly podcast. They were doing it live, kind of like how we do it. I assume they're still doing it. There's something to be said about the frequency. Excuse me. For some odd reason, people like hearing disc golf stuff frequently, and I'm guessing their schedules probably just don't allow for that. Give me shout out for damn it, Dan. There it is again. The deer review is awesome. I'm not sure what that is. Drinking in competition. Don't be a not smart person. That's true. Yep. Nobody should ever do that. Let's roll down. Oh, can we get a scroll? Josh Anthon. I mean, we briefly touched on him during the regular show. Of course, he was in that hunt with Ricky Wysocki. Didn't he win, the A tier the weekend before, I believe? I think he won it handedly.
Yes, he did.
I don't want to say he's the real deal. That's overstating it. Is it just certain courses or styles of courses where you want to peg him as a front runner?
No, because
you'll take him anywhere.
I'll take him anywhere because we've seen he performs well in California in general. But we'll just take his recent thing. He performed very well at Utah last year.
Mm-hmm.
He performed very well at Ledgestone.
Mm-hmm.
And he performed very well at DeLa. And I can't imagine. I mean, you could argue Ledgestone and Utah are kind of similar.
Yeah,
they're longer par 4 courses. But DeLa has two completely unique styles, of course, on one, and he performed well on both of them. You can't. The only place I don't put Anthon, I mean, I guess I can't even say that because I was going to say he doesn't have the distance that those other guys do, but he throws far enough. He doesn't have Macbeth. He's probably close to Wysocki.
Distance-wise?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm. I don't think he has. No, I don't think he has as much distance as him.
I just don't think Ricky out crushes him too much. 50 feet maybe on a golf shot. But anyway, he doesn't have the huge distance that we've seen from a lot of our top pros, but ultimately he gets the job done.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't pick against him anywhere.
Okay. And the one place that we've seen, well, maybe two places, we didn't see him do so great at this year's GBO, and we didn't see him perform at that great at the Memorial. Now, I believe at least one of those being the Memorial. I think that there was some injury that may have been hindering him at that time. But it's really tough to bet against him. Yeah, I'll just say that. I know I don't bet against him. He proves through and through. Now, is he at the form that he was, say, 6-7 years ago?
Yes.
I don't think he's quite there.
I don't
His
think
consistency isn't quite there
is
yet.
quite there. Yes, the form as far as the shots, I think he has every shot he had 6 or 7 years ago. I don't think he can quite pull it off consistently like he could.
Okay. Correct. Yeah, he clearly has it, and his putting is still ridiculous. It's just a matter of that consistency and him being there for it. All right. Conversation on the board. Well, Nico, someone said, where's Nico this year? I know he was out visiting family, hanging out in St. Louis. I think he even ran an event on Sunday. It might have been a C tier or a B tier, but he ran an event on Sunday. That much I know, in the St. Louis area. And I think he was a little bit on a just a family/mental break and wanted to stay local for a little while. So I believe that's the case. Looks like some mixed reviews. I know, shocker. On a new commentary. I was gonna say voice that we heard this weekend that was out there, I guess. I heard that Kona had did commentary on CCDG. Someone said they liked it. The next person said they didn't, and that's a great summary. We'll move on because otherwise we could go along with that and say that all the time. Jeremy asks if I'm going to have a May basket giveaway. I think that sounds about right. Maybe I should do that tomorrow before I leave for San Francisco. Am I behind? Am I ahead? Let's just give a basket away tomorrow anyway. How about that? Yeah, maybe we'll do that. So if you want a basket, you want me to give you a basket? All you got to do is be a Patreon supporter of the Disc Golf Guy, which is separate from the free stuff we give away here on the Smashbox.
Speaking of Patreon, we're going to be giving away today's May, so the June Disc member package this week, and I have no idea what's in it.
Awesome stuff, I bet.
I'm sure it's awesome stuff. It's at least $50 worth of stuff. Plus, if you sign up for Disc member and let them know, it will be an additional $10 gift card. Let's see here if they sent me the information.
Disc member giving away.
This month's package is Dynamic Discs Lucid Getaway, which is a new release disc, Ghost Stamp, Skull Stamp. So, Lucid Getaway, Ghost Stamp, Skull Stamp, a disc store silicone pint glass, DD sticker, and the disc store Golf Mini, and the free UDisc Pro subscription.
Oh my gosh.
So that's what you're getting, all for $24.99 this month. It is at least a $50 value, and we will be giving one away tonight.
No way. Again, will we?
Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Sweet. All you got to do. I think Zoe, I think I also saw that on the board. Someone said Zoe stepped in, did some more commentary again. I was going to say not a surprise. I think she did that for Glassblown.
She did do it for GBO.
All right. Simmer down with the caps. All cap locks there, Matt Pipke.
I've been trying to catch up on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Busy. I've been watching a lot of Westworld, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Way better than last season. Still good.
Okay.
You might like it.
I don't even need the whole premise of Westworld. Aliens, zombies,
robots.
Political robots. Okay.
So basically, based in future, robots that look just like people. You would never tell the difference, and they go kind of crazy in their theme park, and more or less start to take over.
Oh.
It's
so just like Short Circuit, basically.
Just like Short Circuit. In fact, I think they were originally going to call it Short Circuit 4.
Yep.
But instead, they went with Westworld.
Okay.
And we're starting to get some more expanding of different things. So I think you would like it. It's just a good series in general. Some other things I'm excited about. The Expanse, which I complained about last week that it was canceled, was picked up by Amazon for season 4. So I'm super pumped. What else? Yeah, like I said, my wife and I watched that crazy documentary about the evil genius. And what else? I need to go see Deadpool and Solo in the next week or so.
I heard lots of people saying how hilarious or awesome Deadpool was.
Yep. But I want to go see it probably this weekend when everyone else is going to see Solo, and then I'll go see Solo next week sometime. All
right. Makers Telemark asks, how is the San Francisco signal? Assuming it's great. We're assuming it's great. We're hoping it's great.
I've heard good things about Verizon in San Francisco, which is great because that's what we primarily use. And we watched the first 2 episodes of Cobra Kai on YouTube Red, which I didn't realize I have a YouTube Red subscription because I'm a Google Music subscriber. They throw in YouTube Red for free so I don't get any ads on YouTube, things like that. I watched the first 2 episodes with my wife, and we laughed quite a bit. If you liked The Karate Kid at all as a kid, you'll get it's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to watching the next 4 or 5 episodes, whatever there are. They're all about 20 minutes. It's perfect. It's perfect, dumb filler, more or less.
Is that part of their review?
Yes, that's you
can
put that
as perfect dumb filler.
It takes Johnny from Sweep the Leg Johnny and Daniel Russo, and they are 30 years older, and each of their lives have gone in different directions, and where it goes from there.
And they play into who they were.
Yes,
and everything
it's exactly
continues.
who.
Okay.
Yep, I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes, and I think it's actually going to be fun to watch the rest of the episodes. I'm excited. And the first 2 episodes are free on YouTube, even if you're not a YouTube Red subscriber.
Oh, wow. Just to get them hooked. All right. More conversation taking place on the board. Some people talking about commentary teams. And at Pupil says Paige and Madison were always a good team and a combo for commentary. Chris Cobb asked, new mics, JVD, or just new pop filters? Neither in the last 6 months or so.
Correct.
Chris.
Yeah, your microphone is new as of this year, but that was at the beginning of the year. We haven't changed anything. I if it sounds different, maybe I did make a slight adjustment with some of the audio. One of the things I've been doing over the past 2 weeks is I've been watching a lot of videos on audio production, because if I'm going to be helping out Scott and I want our audio to sound better, all these different things and what I can do to make the podcast sound richer and deeper, more so in the after processing, because there's only so much I can do with the live. But when I pull out the WAV file and push it into Audition, there's all sorts of different filters and stuff I can set now that will hopefully make the podcast sound even better. So we'll see.
All right. Chris says that it does sound a little bit different. Someone asked earlier, why is it looking for information about San Francisco? I would just generically always say go out to dgpt.com, or what is it? throwsfo.com? Is that, I hope it is. Yeah, throwsfo.com, as in throwsanfranciscoopen.com. They have a website also dedicated for the event. I know there is a conversation about, somebody had asked about parking. I know you just mentioned the parking lot and ordering security and such for it, but I think there was also a conversation, and we talked about it a little bit last week. There's a $10 daily pass, which includes admissions and access to the Disc Golf Pro Tour games midway. And then there's also a $30 tournament pass, and there's also a $100 VIP pass. So those are all available, and you can find those also on throwsfo.com. I'll put a link in the YouTubes because I know some of you can't. I'll put one out there.
Did I watch Lost in Space? No, I didn't. Someone asks, going back disc golf related, any thoughts on the relevance of the Masters division? And I'll take this. They're not.
Ouch.
Ouch. When it comes to media and it comes to the general public, the Masters field, while it's interesting to see who wins every week, because usually whoever wins the Masters can step into the Open and usually finish top 10. Traditionally. Ultimately, it's just not that relevant in the bigger scheme, I feel. People don't really want to watch it too much unless you're unless you grew up with some of the guys who might be on it. Maybe your Kennys, your Barrys, your Johnny McRae, your Fellberg. Other than that, there's not a heck of a lot of interest media-wise for it, unfortunately. And I just kind of feel that it's not super relevant. People care about MPO and how that division and FPO do. People don't really care about the Masters.
Let's be very clear.
Media-wise.
Yeah.
As
throw the disclaimer out there. It's definitely interesting to me.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've grown up with a lot of these players. We are technically both Masters eligible as of this year. Lots of our friends play there. Lots of our mentors and people we look up to and admire or not. There's a lot of history within a lot of the Masters and Grandmasters divisions. There is no doubt about it. I glowed throughout the entire weekend of being at the U.S. Masters, the Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters a few weeks ago in Indiana, and that was all completely genuine and from the heart that I really had a very fulfilling feeling when I was there and experiencing it. However, when it comes to the stiffest competition for the biggest prize money with the best players, people aren't saying, hey, give me that Masters action. That doesn't mean Patrick Brown and Barry Schultz and Ken Climo and Johnny McRae's and Shasta Chris's and Don Smith's and the hundreds of others are amazingly talented and gifted and very good. Of course they all are. Unfortunately, it's a very small market of people that go above and beyond that care about those divisions. And fair or not, I think it's you could compare it to the senior golf, the PGA Senior Tour.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you heard someone say, "Oh man, did you catch out that Senior Tour?" Of course, there's pockets of people, but for the most part, you're sitting around with all your buddies Monday through Saturday night, and not at any point does someone say, "Oh man, did you catch that sweet action on the PGA Senior Tour? You see what Greg Norman did? He's one of the greats." Nobody says that. Not because he's not one of the greats. It's just because they care about Jordan Spieth and Tiger Woods and 10 other golfers I can't name. But they care more about them. That's all there is to it. Like,
correct.
As people say, we watch the best. And right now, even if those players are amazing, which they are.
And Dad's Drunk, I think, kind of nails it when he says, if all those Masters age players played MPO more frequently, there might be more interest when they play Masters. But when they permanently move to the Masters division and you kind of forget about them in MPO, the Masters division loses a lot of interest. Now, if Barry was always finishing top 10 and Felberg was always top 10 and Johnny McRae was always top 10 and suddenly they get to play in their own tournament and you could see all these like top 10 players play together, there would be more interest. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing these guys start to, now we still see Felberg bounce back and forth. We still see Johnny McRae bounce back and forth. But Schultz, not anymore really. And I mean, he might do that locally, but at any of the big events, he's strictly Masters. Patrick Brown does on occasion.
Sure.
But
I mean, any of those players do on occasion, and they're all.
But mostly they are Masters players now. So that is where the interest is for them.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You can't force someone to like a division or to like a certain age group or any. You can't force. You can provide it, sure. I'm okay with that. If you so choose, you can provide those options. But you can't force someone telling, I just feel like when you're really banging your head against the wall, when you're telling somebody, no, watch this is the greatest ever because I said so. If they don't find it that way, they don't find it that way. That's all there is to it. And sometimes I think that's where a lot of these arguments come about when we're talking about coverage and divisions and groups and I guess the the marketing and the strategies behind them.
Dad Strunk brings up a similar thing about FPO. People don't talk about FPO coverage nearly as much as MPO. It's very true. As we said, it's got about a quarter of the views normally. And it isn't as interesting to some people. But there is there's a concerted effort to bring in more women to the sport. And part of that is the media. And so I think that there's not a concerted effort to bring in more Masters. We're not attempting to bring in, if there was, if the PDGA saw a huge opportunity to bring in 40 and 50 plus year old people, and that was a drive that they really wanted, there might be more. Or if the media saw that as a big effort. But we all know that the primary focus groups are like, 18 to 35. Those are your viewers. Those are the people you want to really attract. And so that's MPO and FPO. So ultimately we would love, because there's such a small starting point for FPO and it has such room to expand, I think that is a pretty good place to focus your efforts. Now, most of the media crews, including us, if you give us the opportunity without any incentive to cover one or the other, we're probably going to cover MPO because it's more financially feasible. But, when financially it's the same, I don't care who we cover. I like covering the FPO personally. It's fun for me to watch.
All right. Jeff Barman says, I personally like watching FPO way closer to the game I am playing, which I completely understand that connection and tie, and I think that's true for a lot of people. And I think that's a very legitimate reason why a lot of people do enjoy watching it. And some people say, I'm rated 700. The best women can beat me and the best men can beat me. All things considered equal, I'm going to go watch the best men. I mean, there's lots of different reasons for people to watch. But, Jeff, I feel like in saying that and even agreeing with you, I also feel like that's a great stance. It's very much in the minority. It's logical. It's just still very much in the minority, and the numbers back that up. All right, switching subjects. If you were making a bet right now, even odds on winner of Masters Cup 2019, would you bet on Paul, Ricky, or the field?
I would say, well, that's very tough because I think right now you have, it's probably 40, 40, 20. 40% on Ricky, 40% on Paul, 20% on the field. And that's only because the field includes Sexton, Anthon, Eagle, and Lazat. Those are the ones that people are focusing on right now. So I would have to take, as of right now, take Ricky.
Fair enough.
Like just barely by an edge. I think maybe 41-39 Ricky over Paul, and then the field. I mean, it might even be more than that. It might be
45, 10.
It might even be that.
That's just probably where I fall.
But I think just Ricky's playing so well. Paul's playing really well. He just has that one section, that one round that just doesn't quite match up with everything else, and I don't understand why. I'm sure he knows, and he will keep. I think he made a post about keep fighting and this and that, and he's going to keep playing and doing well and learn from his mistakes. That's great, and I hope he does because the sport's better when he is making a run at first place.
I do like Dad's drunk comment is, I say it every time. The closer to my game argument is terrible. That being said, you'd rather watch kids flag football than NFL since that's way closer to your game?
I'll say this. No, but there's a huge, huge populace for high school football. People love, even if your kid's not playing high school football, go down to Texas, go down to anywhere in the South, and people just love their high school football because it is, and it's
because it's incredibly competitive and athletic, but yet not at the top level.
It's not at the top level, just like your FPO. I mean, why do people like watching that? Why do people like watching college sports?
Sure.
It's partially it's a regional thing, but there are some people who just love college sports, and it's not the pros, but people love it because it is competitive, and it might not be the top game, but it's a different game. So I can understand if you don't agree with the argument, but there's something to be said about saying, oh, that woman throws a lot more the lines that I'm going to throw.
Yeah, she tops out at 400. I top out at 360 on a great throw. Mm-hmm. I have something to learn from her.
Correct. I can look at how she dissects a course and maybe learn something, as opposed to watching Simon just throw it over everything and land next to the basket.
Correct.
So I can understand that argument. So I disagree with you, Dad's drunk. I can see people saying that, and I understand. And
I can also understand the objection too. Yeah. By nature, I think a lot of us do enjoy also watching the very best of the best, and not just someone at your skill level. But I think there's room to enjoy both. There definitely is.
Yeah.
All right.
Or as JT O'Brien says, if it's disc golf, I'm probably going to watch. That's kind of how I feel.
There you go. All right. This is Sexton's going to break out this week, someone said. Okay. Like acne? What do you mean? I hope not.
Hives. He's allergic to big germ.
Matt says, Paul and Nate are typically the favorites to win that event, even though Ricky is now a two-time champ, which is really interesting.
And that's part of it. Ricky is the two most recent time champ. No, Paul won
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3, yeah. So that's why I just take, and Ricky, I just feel like right now is playing just a hair better than Paul. So where did Eagle finish? I didn't even look.
I don't. I
There's-
don't recall.
there
I
was-
didn't look at a lot of the results though, so I can't take.
Eagle was tied for 5th, so he played very well. I know because I discussed last week saying I want to see Eagle how he plays on some of these courses.
Yeah, so go to rounds 1 and 2.
He shot 7 down on round 3.
Okay.
He shot 1 over on his first round at DeLa,
Okay.
which means
As
then
did Nate Sexton, right?
yep.
Which says the challenge.
No,
of-
no, Sexton shot 5 down.
Oh, sorry.
The
Okay,
first
I was looking
round.
at okay, I was looking at their other total.
Yeah. Then Eagle shot a 9 down the second round. It just goes to show you
Wow, he went from one over to 9 down.
And I bet you his round, the shots he picked were probably very similar. Just
Couple rollaways, man. Got DeLa. I'm guessing. I'll just make that up. All right, Dad's Drunk says, went to high school and college in Georgia. I've seen it. My high school had season tickets and scalpers, a real stadium and all that. They said high school football at that level isn't near what I'm capable of. No, yeah, you're right. Those high schoolers would roll right over you all day.
yes,
I totally get it. Paul finishing in 3rd after this first round was bananas. Yeah, you're late to the party, Disc Golf Nerd. Glad to have you, but you're late to the party. We said exactly that.
Same thing.
And that also won me money against this guy.
I should just PayPal you right now.
Your opinion of the gallery partaking in extracurriculars during the round, I always would go to just the all too obvious and easy, personally. Is it legal? And is it allowed? If it's legal and allowed, whatever. If it's not, then I don't think it should be done. I'm sorry if that sounds rude.
Yeah, California.
But
California is unique.
I'm going to just, in general, just go by the very standard local and state laws. That's what I would refer to.
Such
And
a
that goes for anything.
Where?
I am. I know. I'm straight edge, bro. Straight edge. I don't know. Straight edge. Don't they put X's?
Put X's on your hand.
Well, I was just making an X with my arms because it's easier than on
I
my
didn't know
hands.
if you were like, Hail Wakanda. I'm not sure.
Sammy Sosa.
Wakanda forever.
Sammy Sosa. All right.
Let's.
Is the Disc Golf Pro Tour finale sanctioned this year? I do not believe it was last year. I think it was. Several players on the lead card were smoking between holes. It may have been an A tier or a B tier or an A tier last year. So that may have impacted it. And I believe it was sanctioned because it was just on Paige Pierce's things a few minutes ago, on her profile a few minutes ago. Well, a couple hours ago. So it must have been sanctioned. Stop snitching.
Snitches get stitches
And stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let's do a little giveaway.
Let's do it. Giveaway.
So once again, we're giving away the disc member box, which includes, it's a dynamic disc month. So for all you trilogy heads out there, Lucid Getaway, which is a brand new disc, new release with a ghost skull stamp. The silicone pint glass.
Right out of my collection. I'm a big skull guy.
You skulls, dragons, and yin yangs. That's all I always know about you.
And wings. Can't get enough of them.
Can't get enough wings. Some DD stickers, the Golf Mini, and the free UDisc Pro subscription. So again, if you want to sign up for this, you can go to Disc Member. I'll put a link out on our Facebook page that will be out there hopefully for the next day or so. And if you do sign up, make sure to email service@discmember.com. Tell them that we referred you, and you will get an extra $10. We get squat, but you get $10. So, all right, we had a lot of people suddenly sign up. I saw one person just signed up, so I added their name to the bottom of the list that I have already created. So let me...
Jeepers, on the spot.
On the spot, yeah. So,
Someone asked if Spin TV is going to do anything ever again. That's a good question. I assume you're going to see more content. I don't think you're going to see round by round or shot by shot coverage, but I do think you'll see other pieces put together by them. The shot by shot coverage, primarily for the last 2 or 3 years, was ultimately made by, the backbone was Central Coast or CC or Jomez, and I don't think they're going with that style anymore. So I think what you're going to see are more, what's the term? I don't want to just say artistic pieces, but you're going to see background pieces. You're going to see history pieces. You're going to see insights in the bags. You're going to see those types of things that will come from Spin. When that I have no idea. I have no idea what their plan is for doing those types of things. McBeast Diaries, I mean, those were primarily filmed by Paul's brother, and he did a rough edit and then handed them off. And that too sounds like, unfortunately, and it's a little different. Paul was in an RV, his own RV or something that resembled an RV for a few years, and his brother was with him, and that made, I think, that concept a little bit more easy to follow out. But with Paul flying in and out of Virginia, it's not quite the same, and his brother is in Tennessee or Florida or wherever.
Yes, I believe Spin did film something with Simon out in California that we haven't seen yet.
Okay.
So I'm sure they're working on that. All right.
2. I like 2.
You like
Ricky's a 2-time Masters Cup champion.
He is a 2-time Masters Cup champion. So
either that or you got to do 2018 numbers.
Oh, God, no. We're going to do 2. So we have 190 people.
What? 190?
Yeah, so we picked up 5, I believe, from last week. So thanks to everyone who recently signed up. I made sure to add the last one, which I believe was Phil Work. And it's all sorted right now. It's sorted by last name. I went with last name this week. So you said 2.
2.
2.
So you generate 2 numbers.
The first number is
Doesn't
10.
count. 10, you would have won. But you didn't. It could be 10 again, though. That would have been awesome.
151. So we're going to go to...
How did you sort them again?
By last name backwards. So 151.
Oh, my gosh. Mind blown.
Scott Dallas.
Scott Dallas.
Scott Dallas.
Scott Dallas.
Thank you very much for being the Patreon supporter. You win the disc member box with the DD stuff. Hopefully you're one of those trilogy heads that can...
additionally enjoy it.
If not...
Try it anyway.
You'll love it.
No better time to try a new disc than when one is
given
given to you.
That's how, back in my day, when you go to an event, they would just give you a disc. Sometimes you didn't even get to pick your discs.
No,
they would just be like, hey, guess what? Here's your disc.
Here's your Stingray.
And then even when you won,
here's your Cobra.
They would just give you discs.
Here's your Gazelle.
Sometimes there wasn't
Here's your
funny
Viper.
money.
Here's your Cyclone. That's what you were given, kids.
Yeah. And you liked it.
Yeah, you did.
You were just like, okay. There wasn't any internet for me to sell discs.
We didn't have quad shocks. We didn't have, we had birdie bags. We didn't have sport sacks and dirt bags. And
there were some dirt bags.
Yeah, there were plenty of dirt bags. Ouch. Oh. Yeah, well, we didn't have triple bogeys. Okay, maybe. Anyway, yes, you were just handed things. Back in those days, we weren't even handed the internets.
So anyway, congratulations to Scott Dallas. Thank you for being a Patreon supporter. I will send you out an email shortly, and I will carbon in the disc member guys so they can get you get your stuff.
All right, a few other things off the board coming in. Somebody had said, we'll go over a couple of things. Somebody just said, "What's Avery not doing commentary?" I don't know what there's.
I don't think there's a story behind it.
Yeah, there's no story. I mean, Avery is by and large associated with Spin TV in terms of media. Of course, he's worked with other outlets, but he's mainly has been connected with Spin TV. And as we just said, Spin TV's not doing too much shot-by-shot coverage, I don't see that happening
now.
He is.
Yeah, he's doing one of the Behind the Shield.
Oh yeah.
podcast.
He's doing that. Correct.
With Discmania.
Okay. With Discmania on Monday, but Mondays, I believe. Yes, we very much discussed the Ricky double penalty and foot faults and all that stuff a long time ago. That has been discussed. The legend of Scott Dallas. So Scott Dallas. And then also I do want to, since next gen, if anyone has next gen questions, I could repeat them and or we can address them directly here. But the announcement I made a little earlier was in fact that next gen, if you participate in a regional event, you are then eligible. If you either participate in one or you TD one, you are eligible to compete in the regional championships. So that's something that you're going to see in a newsletter tomorrow. We brought it to you here first. Also, if you are a tournament director and you get a lot of people to come show up to your event, I believe you can earn a Benjamin's worth of credit towards Zuka product. So that's something else that's big. All right, moving on. What else you got? Anything else in the Anybody else in the frisbee?
Did you see
worlds?
Milwaukee made some national news? Did you see the guy who got who went up to the backpack with the bomb?
Well, was there a bomb?
No. So get this.
Okay, yeah.
So
I did see.
So
this.
somebody, a biker, like put a backpack, I think explicitly, and left it on top of a garbage can. Just left it there. He stopped. I think the biker left it there. It was called in as a suspicious package, and this was about maybe not even a mile from my office.
Okay, this is like 6 or 7 a.m. yesterday morning, correct?
Correct. So cops come. What's this thing? They drag the whole thing into the middle of the road. They cordon it off with yellow tape.
Caution tape, yep. The SWAT team is called, the whole 9 yards.
Everything, because there's a mysterious package and they have to be careful. So it's causing downtown issues because it's in the middle of downtown.
Milwaukee, yep.
The cops back away, and within like a minute, maybe not even that much, maybe within 30 seconds, some bicycler, just blows past the police, goes under the tape, walks up to the back, like drops his bike, walks up to the backpack, and just starts ripping it open.
Yeah, and emptying it.
Emptying it out. And because I guess he was heard saying something along the lines of,
I'm going to defuse this right now.
I'm going to defuse this right now anyway. And I have not seen such a good tackle in the state of Wisconsin.
Hey-o, even including the Packers?
Including the Packers in a long time. Watching the cop take that guy down, because ultimately because of him, they found out there was no bomb. But if there was, we'd have a guy splattered all over Milwaukee. The cops just
leveled him.
I mean, it was a great tackle. Squared up the shoulders, took the guy right down to the concrete.
Drove it through, right through the hips.
Right, yeah.
Just textbook tackle.
It was a textbook
tackle there.
So
they got him.
It got him real good. I got a good chuckle out of it. I thought the guy was a total idiot. Clearly, the odds of it being a bomb are very slim. The problem is, slim still happens.
Mm-hmm.
And he very well could. He put his life in danger. He put other people's lives in danger by doing it.
What an idiot.
Ultimately, I'm glad it worked out that nobody was killed. But gosh, wow. It was...
So what's the lesson here, Johnny?
Lesson is just stay out of the cops' way. Let the cops take care of it. Don't mess with the yellow tape. If you see it,
stay behind it.
Stay behind it.
If there's a backpack in the middle of the street, don't think you're going to go defuse it.
No, I wonder if he meant just like defuse the situation or literally defuse the bomb if there's one in there.
I was under the impression, and again, you know about as much as I do, or I know as much as you. I thought he meant like, I'm going to defuse the situation and like, let's just go figure out what's in there.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it was really ridiculously stupid that he decided to run out in the middle of the street and just empty it out. Lots of questions, and we haven't touched on it. I'll be the first to admit, I'm not like some other podcasts. I don't like to just completely speculate and make up random things. There was a conversation as to Leslie Todd. I think ultimately was registered as an 888 as opposed to a 999 or vice versa. And thank you. Our next year's TD is on the board, and some people are asking as to what happened with Leslie. And Matt Beatty on the board says Leslie Todd was not injured. I'm reading this. She has a terribly poor attitude in DNF because DeLa showed her teeth. Now that is per
Matt Beatty.
Matt Beatty. Matt,
I just think it's like
Warren. Your name.
I think it's like Warren Beatty. That's what I'm going to guess. That's what I'm saying, Matt Beatty. I'll say this. I've seen Leslie have issues with courses. She can be frustrated at times very easily, especially with wooded courses. And if DeLa, if you're off at DeLa, it can be brutal. So I don't know exactly what the situation is. Someone's saying it got kind of ugly at the end. Probably.
Was that on film? Is that or were people physically there and that are saying this on the board, or was it on film? I don't know. And maybe that would tell the entire story.
Matt Beatty. Thank you.
Okay, so Matt Beatty, next year's Santa Cruz, Masters Cup 2019 tournament director, has given us that information. So that's what's out there.
Someone's asked, have we played DeLa? I've played a few. I've played a few of the holes, most of the holes at DeLa. I haven't played the whole course. I played, the top of the world hole. I played some smattering ones in between there because we went there a few years ago. for Worlds, and we got to play a few of the holes there. I didn't get to play the whole course, but
I have played there. Of course, iconic, legendary, challenging, fun. There's a lot of words that could be used for DeLa. It is. It's. I'd have to look it up because I'm the only one that cares. But I think when I played there, my first round of Worlds, 2011, there were 24-hole courses. There's 3 24-hole courses. I feel like I had
10 down.
No, I think
20 down.
I had 2 birdies and 1 bogey, or 2 bogeys and 1 birdie. I think I literally had 21 pars out there. and some of those pars are amazing. Some of those pars not so much, but I had 21 pars. If I recall, that's what it was. Somebody had, it's big putt bills on it. It says -6, Terry. That was my first round? That I didn't shoot -6 out there. Not my first round.
Maybe that was your first round at the tournament, but your first round at DeLa. I don't know if your first round was at DeLa for the tournament.
I don't recall. I thought it was. But either way, it was, it was, again, I just remember thinking some of those pars were really good. Some of those pars weren't so good. All right. Next Gen Disc Golf is on the board saying the website, check out the website if you're looking for where your next event is nearby. Please do so. I'm not sure if that's Colt or if that's possibly Dave Felberg, but there are there is a Next Gen representative here on the board. Match Play Championships. That's the other thing I was definitely excited to give an update about, but forgot about it until just now. Any idea where World Match Play Disc Golf World Match Play Championships? As to, because there was a conversation, we talked about it with Doug last week, as to the rules, the rules and the details for the event, the ridiculous amount of money that they're giving away, $15,000 for first and $10,000 for second, all thanks to OGO.
Yep, Terry, you shot an 86 at DeLa the very first round, which is your second round of the event. Par is 81.
Shut up.
It's what it says. 5 over. Sorry.
Maybe I'm making stuff up.
You clearly are.
No. I shoot anywhere near par one of those days.
It
says DeLa?
It says DeLa.
Oh, round
2, 27 holes.
Okay.
81. Par 81.
And what did I shoot?
86. Round 1 was CSUMB. It was a par 86, and you shot an 83. You cashed it where that Worlds, $200.
We never played there again? No, we played Pinto. Yeah, we never played there again?
No, because then you went to Ryan Ranch and Pinto.
Oh, I suck. All right, never mind.
Semis.
Pars were different. Pars were all... Huh. No, seriously, I'm genuinely confused as to what I'm thinking of. Maybe I...
So basically,
you saying I shot a 5 over?
I'm not saying it. The PDGA is saying it, Terry. I did not.
Is that what you're saying? Is that I shot a 5 over?
That's what it looks like. And there's no round ratings on them because
I was just gonna say, what was it rated?
It's not rated. It says a bunch of zeros, except for the semis, which were rated for some reason.
I must be confused with something else.
You are clearly confused with something else. What we've learned is that whatever stories Terry tells you, just don't believe them. So you were 70th place. You shot an 83 first round, an 86, an 80, then an 89. You kept it in the 80s. Way to go.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like that 80 sounds more accurate because now remember there were A and B pools.
Oh.
So there is a chance.
True. There is a chance that you actually shot in that if it switched up.
The 80 would make more sense because I thought I shot a 1 down, but that doesn't. I don't know.
Well, maybe you shot a 2 over. Maybe your 83 was
maybe
actually.
I had 3 birdies or 3 bogeys and
that
1
would actually
birdie.
make sense because you would have not been in the A pool.
Correct. Yep.
You would have been in the B pool, and it would have been switched up for you. So odds are you're right. You probably shot an 83, at DeLa,
which
and an 86.
Means I might have had 3 bogeys and 1 birdie.
Which means you went par on CSUMB, probably 2 over.
I cashed. All right, there's the takeaway, folks.
And you beat Dustin Keegan that tournament.
I did.
You were in 70, and he was.
Where are we now, Dustin?
Oh, you beat a lot of people. Look at this.
Oh, yeah, read them off. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, listen up here on this very important 10 minutes to midnight.
Dustin Keegan.
Got him.
Philo.
Booyah. Wow. There you go, Philo. Or did we tie?
No, you beat Philo.
Yeah, I beat Philo. Yeah. You guys listening?
Yeah.
Keep going. Some other names. There's other people, I hope.
There's a lot of people, but I don't know any of their names. Tomas Ekstrom.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Got him.
Bamba. You beat Bamba.
I played with him.
You beat Miles Harding.
Miles, got him.
Anders Karlstrom.
Yep. All day.
Wait.
Brian Vaggi, I see on there. Out of California. Got you, Brian.
Now I'm getting way down lower into the list of where people don't know anybody.
Benjamin Ferris, good buddy and Smashy.
Ben Ferris.
Take it, Ben.
Way to go.
All right. Robert Leonard, or is that Rockport? Oh, never mind.
Right. No. No one really knows no one knows the rest. So congratulations on beating a few people.
Philo. I beat Philo. That was probably literally the only time ever. Yeah, that might have been the only event ever, but I did. No, not Philo Smith, Philo Pratt. Anyway, come on, man. Exactly. Yes, my glory days. And a few less pounds. I don't know about that. Might have been about, I was. 2011, I was my thinnest in the last 10 years, actually. That was a good year. Stop. All right. Have we given away all our stuff tonight?
We have. We've given away everything. I want to thank everyone who participates. The email's sent out, so I'm good to go. I've got that under control.
I think Zach Pajek, I think you are still in. I think Zach, I still owe you from last week. Otherwise, I'm pretty close to caught up. Maybe one or two. All right. I don't know if we've got anything else from. Have you ever beat Robert McCall? Probably not. Only because we probably never played against one another. I doubt we did. And well, let me rephrase that. He's too new of a player, I'm guessing. But if we ever did play against one another in outside of the last year, I probably did beat him because
snap!
If I would have, it would have been a way longer time ago. What's his PDGA number?
It is 42261. So let's look at a couple of the
places that he might have played. I don't think he'd played a lot of world championships, and I think he'd primarily played in Texas. He probably didn't play in the 2002 Houston Worlds. He was in diapers. We got time for that.
He barely had hair on his head.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if we ever squared up, but I'm guessing we haven't.
I don't
been on the same course.
I don't believe so. Yeah, he was pretty much a Texas guy. So,
exactly.
And by the time he ventured out, he would have beat you.
Correct. Phil Work, thanks for becoming a Smashy and first show you've watched.
Yeah. And he's a Patreon supporter now, too.
I know.
So
we appreciate it. We saw you, and you were eligible for the drawing. That's how quick we are on it. You signed up tonight.
We got you.
And we made you eligible for the drawing. And I won't even rehash you saying how much you hated the term Smashy a few years ago. I won't even bring that up. So we appreciate it.
Did you play in... No, you didn't play 2016 Pro Worlds.
No. That would have been my 21st Worlds. And I did not. That was the year I split open my leg and we were live. So no.
That would have been the only time. Sorry. That was the closest you came.
Kombucha isn't a fad in disc golf. It probably is. I've been making it on my own for 6+ years. I've yet to try any.
I have not tried any.
I have
either.
a feeling you won't like it.
Probably not.
And I'm relatively particular. I'm guessing I won't like it. I don't like any...
I'm finicky like that.
Yeah. You don't like any teas or iced tea, sweetened or unsweetened, right?
Not really.
Yeah, either do I. And maybe I'm dead.
I hate coffee.
Okay, let's back up. Here's a good one for the board instead. Tell me what you would compare it to. And then Johnny and I can quickly tell you as to whether or not we would like it. Because Johnny doesn't like any teas or coffees. Long Island's don't count. Teas or coffees.
I do like those.
I'm not a big I don't drink tea or coffee either. And I don't have no idea if it's anything like those, but
and if you tell me it's an acquired taste, I'm probably going to kick you in the nuts. If you don't have any nuts,
wow,
I might just. I'm not probably going to hit you if you don't have any nuts.
armpit sweat.
Ooh, yum.
Bubbly tea sounds gross.
It's one of those things that's just like, if it's an acquired taste, then you don't want to.
Water filtered through dirty socks. How would you know that? That tastes like Don. Yeah. Okay. So nobody's making a hard sell for me right now.
I'm curious. I'd like to try it.
Oh, of course I would too. And the fact that they're supporting disc golf is all I care about. I may or may not drink it or like it myself, but if they are supporting disc golf, that I am a big fan.
And the
of.
next gen says the hum kombucha is definitely tasty. The other brands are more of an acquired taste.
There you go. I see what you did there.
All right, so I will try.
Footfault sweat with fruit. I think we know who's been drinking too much then.
Woo! I will make it a point to try it. I hope that next time, coconut does not sound good to me.
Yeah, you're not a coconut. I'm not a big coconut. I'm a huge pineapple guy. Not so much coconuts. Bigfoot's bathwater. Okay.
But coconut just does not.
Okay, somebody give us a serious response as to what it. Unless you really do, all of you claim that it has some kind of foot-like taste to it. I'm waiting for a legitimate answer as to what it might taste like. I understand that it's very healthy. I know there's a lot of people that have discussed that and have talked about the health benefits of it, which is, of course, awesome.
So they're saying it tastes like bubbly tea.
Yeah, okay. Then I likely will not care for it. Sorry, Terry, they do not have Mountain Dew flavored kombucha. Yes, I'm not really on my Mountain Dew kick like I used to be, but if they did have Mountain Dew flavored, oh my God, I would be in heaven. Then I would be in heaven. If it was really good for me, it wasn't unhealthy, and it tasted like that, I would be in heaven. That would be great, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Tastes like day old empty beer can at DeLa. Ouch. I think savage is the term they use. Dude says my response is serious. Light champagne.
Ugh. Yeah, that does not sound good to me.
It's most similar to unsweetened tea. Okay, then that sounds disgusting to me. Just because I'm not at all a tea.
I
fan.
would try the fruit flavored ones.
Earthy taste because of its ingredients.
All right, take a step back. The fruitier, the better for me.
Yes, definitely for this guy
right here. I do like fruit flavored drinks. So
Justin, not a name we see often, says, "Are you basing coconut dislike on almond joy?" Almond joys are also disgusting. So
they
all
are,
of it,
they are disgusting. But coconut itself,
not good either.
Not good for me. Not good for this guy. Yeah, I will definitely next gen. The next time I get a chance to try hum, and it's going to be hum kombucha. I'm not going to try any other kind.
That would be just stupid at this point.
Yeah, so I will make an effort to try. I will take a look at the kind that I think. Oh. You just Matt. I might put you in a timeout for that. Fruit flavored pizza.
Yes, love me some.
The only
Hawaiian
fruit that should be on a pizza.
Don't even say. Go ahead. No, you don't like those.
Yeah.
You don't mind tomatoes. Yeah,
I don't mind tomatoes.
Gross.
It's tomato sauce, but also sun dried tomatoes. If you, I like. There's a place we used to go to down on the east side. It used to be called the Oakland Trat. Then it changed names. They had this Cal Trio pizza, which had, what kind of cheese was it? Anyway,
Feta.
It wasn't.
Goat.
Nope.
Armpit. Foot.
No, it was basically scooped on. It looked like
mozzarella.
Little piles of cheese. But they also had sun-dried tomatoes, and they would always load it up. And I felt that the sun-dried tomatoes then just kind of crushed all the other flavors. So I would basically pull off almost all the sun-dried tomatoes, except for about 4 or 5 of them on a piece, because I want just the flavor. I don't need it overwhelming the taste of the pizza, but it was really good.
Blueberry mint for Munda cheese. There you go. JVD, do you want mango passion fruit hum?
Sounds okay.
All right. Well, maybe that's what we should do. And if Hum's listening, which I'm sure they are, why wouldn't they be 3 hours into our podcast? As I know they support disc golf. If they want to send us, we'll take a look. We'll take a look at some of the flavors, and then we'll get back to them and let them know what we'll try. I would love to try some. And it's funny because I have been meaning to, and I just haven't gotten around to purchasing any. I see it more and more frequently at Target if I'm ever in there. The chia seed kombucha are the best. It's super thick, almost like liquidy Jello, which I can't imagine you'd like.
I like Jello.
Would you like a liquid Jello drink?
It depends what it tasted like. Like, the consistency wouldn't bother me.
What if this liquid Jello was done in shots and serving you at the bar was Bill Cosby? Then would you?
Ooh.
No?
Does he have pudding pops?
Pudding pop?
Pudding pop?
No.
Probably. Yeah, if he was serving me, I think I'd be okay. As long,
you really?
as long as he's the one like behind the bar serving.
Yeah.
And I can
You
just.
think you'd be safe?
I think I would be
You
safe.
probably
Yeah,
would
I
be.
think I would
That's true.
be.
All right. Yes, a live tasting on the podcast. That sounds like a good day. Jen Allen's Ali Axmark, thank you for the 25 Swedish kroners earlier. He says Jen Allen's drive motion is like poetry. She does have some very, very concise, powerful drives. There's no doubt about that. Flannels and kombucha don't mix. I feel like it's the exact opposite, right?
That's what it feels like to me.
That's what it seems
Feels
like.
it's everyone says earthy and natural, and that's kind of what rolls right into flannel.
All right. Taro milk tea is my jam, but try not to have it much at all due to the sugar. Are you doing the
Steven, Sandy Point?
The Sandy Point team tourney this year? Either of you? Any pointers, as this will be my first year? Well, I would bring your broom or your disc pan because you're about to get swept. That's stupid.
Wow.
No, the team tournament is, as you're referencing, in a couple weeks. Upper Midwest team tournament held at Sandy Point Resort, sandypt.com. They don't pay me to say that. They should. But one of the greatest places on earth host, just like we see the Arizona team tournaments, we see the California team tournament, we see the Virginia team invitational, very similar match play events around the country. That'll take place in northern Wisconsin. I am rejoining a team I used to captain, and that's going to be taking place next weekend up there. And it's just a lot of fun. It's match play. You'll hear more about it probably come next week. Bring your A game is what you can do. That's my only advice for you, Phil.
It's match play, so don't concern yourself with. You've played the courses before.
Yep.
Don't concern yourself with the individual strokes, just like a typical match, and you'll be fine.
This was an interesting conversation, mainly in conjunction with the conversation about the disqualification that we saw this week about caddies carrying or possessing or having any alcohol along with the players. Some people then immediately pointed out and said Hum Kombucha, specifically, along with apparently lots of other kombucha, has a lot of it has alcohol in it, small or large traces. Somebody just said something about 5% a moment ago. However, if it's below a certain limit, it is not considered an alcoholic beverage, and therefore it is not considered illegal, as you pointed out and others said. Similar to what you may find in toothpaste, or no, I'm sorry, mouthwash, not toothpaste, maybe toothpaste too, but in mouthwash, and maybe even some. If you're NyQuil, if you're out playing, if
my 8-year-old can go out and buy it, then it's not considered an alcoholic beverage by the PDGA.
Correct. So, Ollie says Jen does have the world record in length. Yes, we talked to her about it. Must be something good. There's more than something good. There's
great form and everything. A ton of power.
Yes. Seriously though, the Masters in 20 years is going to be huge. Yeah,
sure.
I agree. Mouthwash isn't like 25% on it. You could get drunk on it. I don't think it's 25%. No, it can't be 25% alcohol. No, it's not. And then Dad's Drunk says some kombucha requires ID. So if you drink an A beer, are you okay? No, because an 8-year-old cannot go buy O'Doul's, correct? Am I correct on that?
I think you're correct.
But I am incorrect. Here it looks like.
No. The original formula for Listerine was 26.9%
alcohol.
Many of the mint-flavored mouthwashes are almost 22%. The alcohol content of Scope is about 19%.
May of 2014. Wow, I stand corrected. I had no idea there was that much alcohol in mouthwash. I mean, I knew it was in there. I had no idea it was that much. So I absolutely stand corrected. Holy cow. Man, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Just gonna
Yeah.
take a little nip on that Listerine.
Oh, yeah. I'm bringing it. Oh, my gosh. I can't imagine swallowing that on purpose, though. That's just, ugh.
But the manufacturers modify the ethanol in the mouthwash to a specially denatured alcohol. So I don't think it's going to get you that toasty. It's virtually undrinkable.
Depending on how bad you want it.
Of course. Yeah. It's also in hand sanitizer and hairspray. So please go to town.
Yeah.
I'll line up a shot of each, Terry, and we'll see which one you can put down.
Yeah, Robitussin, NyQuil. Yeah, I'd love to have some of that. Ugh. Anyway. All right, I think this has officially gone off the rails, and that gives it a good enough reason to call it.
We've given you the information you need to
Get drunk.
to go get yourself a little toasty on mouthwash.
We found out that kombucha tastes like dirty sock water, apparently, and you should get drunk on mouthwash. I mean, as long as you're doing those two in relative order.
True.
Have that, and then, have one, then the other. Sounds like the way to do it. So, all right, everyone. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate all of our Smashies, all of our Patreon supporters, and even if you don't support us, of course, we still love and appreciate you, just not quite as much as the people that contribute. Is that a fair way to put it?
Everything's fair, Terry.
And if you are supporting me on the Disc Golf Guy channel, I'll be giving away a basket. I might try and do that tomorrow before I fly out. If not, it sounds like a great thing to do from California. So we'll be giving away the basket. Thank you guys for joining us. We're going to call it a night. This has been podcast 196 After Show. Johnny V, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you in a couple days, coming to you live from the San Francisco Open, the next stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smash Box.